Find us on Facebook, email us at head2headpinball@gmail.com, or go to our website at head2headpinball.com. Welcome everybody to the Head2Head Pinball Podcast. This is episode 24. My name is Martin, and with me...
It's Ryan C.
How are you, Ryan? Mate? I am good.
You good? You been hitting the turfs, mate?
I might have.
Guys and girls, just a fair warning, Marty he didn't drink at all the last couple of nights, and he's making up for it today.
I really am. It's New Year's Day here in Australia, and I'm celebrating New Year's Day. I don't celebrate New Year's Eve. There's a fun fact for you. It's all about New Year's Day for me.
Yeah, I had plans yesterday, but I was kind of so over just moving around and doing things after the event that we had on the weekend. I just stayed in with the family and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But we do have some news today to report on. A bit of a slow news week, but we've got some information, some exclusive info. I think this has been discussed
we do
anyway,
too. Yes,
on Aerosmith. We'll talk a little bit about the Heads Up Championship that's going to be happening in the US. John Popadiuk news.
People can't see your inverted commas, but there's news.
News. Just some lighthearted humour. Some AFMR issues, Houdini shipping. We'll talk about our massive week in pinball, Marty's flaps, and we'll just go through a bit of. We're going to go through a bit of highlights of our 2017 year, and we're going to do. We haven't prepared it properly yet, so we're going to do half of the Twerpy results, which is the anti-Twerpy awards, the worst stuff in pinball.
Yeah.
So, Aerosmith. What do you think about Aerosmith, Marty?
Oh, do you know what? I said a couple of weeks ago when we had Kaneda on our episode that I thought Aerosmith was a real surprise hit of the year. When I'd heard ages ago, and I'm talking ages ago, that they were going to do a Aerosmith pinball, I just didn't realise that it was going to be as good as it is. I'm not really all that keen on the band, and I don't think Aerosmith have been a huge band in Australia. I mean, to be honest, the first I heard of them was when they did Walk This Way with Run DMC. Is that bad of me?
No, Run DMC are a lot better than Aerosmith.
Yeah. So when I heard of the Pinball Machine, I just thought this is a weird theme for them to do, because Aerosmith just doesn't seem very current, and I couldn't imagine how they would translate into a pinball theme. And yet, when they released it was absolutely phenomenal. I absolutely love the machine.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to eventually run out of kind of 70s and 80s rock bands to make pinball machines around. But, I mean, if you kind of take it in the Steve Bowden way, where he was like, I haven't watched Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm going to treat it like an original theme until I watch the movie. I mean, a pinball machine is just a pinball machine, so it doesn't need... It could have the worst theme, but if you don't own the machine and you're just playing it, then I guess you don't really need that connection. But I think it's done better than what Stern has thought, so they are releasing an update soon. That's not news, but I did catch wind of some... I don't think this has been released in the public. If it's probably been sitting on Pinside for a month, and I haven't even checked. But if you have Aerosmith and you don't want to get spoiled about what's coming in the update, please skip forward a couple of minutes. But I heard that they are going to be adding some voice call-outs from... Who do you think will do some voice call-outs? Because right now they've got that... is it Jackie?
The Jack in the Box thingy?
Jack in the Box, yeah, the guy...
Okay.
Press that button to abort multi-ball. Okay.
Well, if they're going to add call-outs, it would have to be somebody from the band. And
who would you choose if you were an Aerosmith fanboy or girl?
I would choose the guy that's got the giant mouth.
Bubble lips.
What's his name? Steve Tyler?
Yes.
Did I get that name right?
Yes.
Yeah, big mouth guy.
Apparently, hopefully this is not another one of my, things that I've heard it turns out to be total bullshit. But I've heard that they are getting him in to record custom callouts on the machine as kind of a thank you, and because they want sales to keep on going, because it's kind of sold better than they thought. And that's that. If I was an Aerosmith owner, I'd be pretty damn happy.
Yeah, I'd be completely stoked.
Yeah, it's a massive bonus, right? 1 year on, and it's weird that they would do that. And I said, hopefully it's true and it's not some bullcrap that somebody fed me. But Steven Tyler, Aerosmith callouts, and Ellie and what's the other version? The premium owners are also going to get some new code for the upper playfield. They're going to tweak and refine those rules as well. So let me ask you a question. Yes.
So besides Steve Perry, what's his name?
Steve Tyler?
Steve Tyler. I'm giving it away. So there's 5 members of the band. Besides Steven Tyler, name the other members of the band.
Zero clue. Nothing.
Yeah, I gave it away when I said Steve Perry, because Joe Perry is the other guy.
Joe Perry. No, I wouldn't even know. I mean, I wouldn't even. The guy with the big lips to me is the guy with the big.
Big lips guy.
Big lips guy, bubble lips.
He's my. So I don't give a crap about Aerosmith, but I'm a big car fan. I love cars. And what I love about Steven Tyler is that he owns a Hennessy Venom. Do you know what that is?
I can look it up, but it sounds like... Is that the car with the really long front and with the bubble lights at the front?
Possibly. It's actually based on a Lotus. The tuning company is called Hennessy, and they've used the sort of like the base chassis and car of a Lotus, and then made it much longer and made it ridiculously fast. And Steve Tyler owns a Hennessy Venom, so he gets mad props for owning that car.
Okay, I just looked up a picture. It was the absolute opposite of what I thought it was. I thought it was the Hennessy Venom. It sounds like one of those classic cars that they, with like a V12 engine or something in there. So, no, I know nothing about cars.
Oh, okay. Well, I love cars, and I would love to have this car. It looks like a Lotus Exige. Someone's cut it in the middle and extended it. You know when they get those those normal cars and they turn them into a stretch limo? It kind of looks like that.
Cool.
There you go. Side note there for you.
Side note. Aerosmith, new update. Everyone that wasn't listening can now tune back in.
But I got to say, I think that's really cool that the machine has done enough to warrant the attention of the lead singer of Aerosmith to want to do custom callouts. I think that's very cool.
Well, I don't think he's like, oh, hey, I want to do it for free. I think it's just like, hey, we sold more, so maybe it's within our budget now to spend an extra, I don't know, a couple tens of thousands of dollars to get this guy to...
out again.
Anyway, the next news article is there is going to be another Heads Up Championship in the US on March the 25th, and it's going to be held at the Bottom Lounge in Chicago, Illinois. And if you win another Stern Pro pinball machine. You can get an Aerosmith if you want.
Is it an Aerosmith they're giving away?
Well, I think it's whatever they're making at the time.
Okay.
You can choose a Pro, possibly. You talk and I'll actually read the article instead of just the headline.
Well, we are going to talk about the Heads Up tournament in a second when we go to Chaos in Melbourne City. But I did recently watch the IE Pinball stream of the Guardians of the Galaxy launch party Heads Up tournament. And we know as well now, with first-hand experience, Heads Up format is the hot format. It is freaking fun.
As long as people understand the rules and the game enough, it's exciting. I mean, you can watch the stream that we did and you can see how excited I was. But yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later. It says here the winner of the tournament will receive a brand new Stern Pro pinball machine. So I guess they're either going to choose one and say you go to Guardians, or maybe a new machine that would have been announced by then. Maybe that's why they're not naming it. Or maybe you get a choice of whatever they're producing at the moment.
So what's the next machine you think they're going to release?
Deadpool.
Deadpool, everybody.
Deadpool Pro.
Deadpool Pro. That's what Ryan has said on record. It is better. Okay. So, I just have no idea. We've talked about this before. Ever since we've started this podcast, people feed us so much information. Some of it's true, some of it's not. It's really hard to know what's actually going to come true.
Yeah, if we kind of listed all the machines that people have told us are coming out for Stern, they'd be releasing like 8 pinball machines this year. So obviously some of them are either not true or pushed back into 2019. Who knows?
I think there's a lot of wishful thinking there. I think people are wanting a certain theme to become a machine, so they're feeding us that information. So we put it out to the public. It then gets public opinion, and then Stern will make it.
Sure. Well, talking about someone who would like that kind of attention.
Yes.
John Popadiuk, our mate, John.
John, friend of the show, John Popadiuk.
Friend of the show, long-time listener, John Popadiuk. the pinball inventor himself. He invents pinball machines.
He does. He doesn't make them, though. He just
invents them. He just draws some pictures and a bit of foam. Anyway, John Popadiuk. He's got a website, zywire.com, zywire.com, and he updated this week, and we've had a request from the general public, Marty, that they like the voice that you read out your what was it? The email
update.
The Dutch Pinball update. It sounded like who? What was her name?
Okay, so for those people that are listening from overseas, and we will get to that later because there's a lot of people that listen to us from overseas. There is a woman called Karen Moorgold. That name again is Karen Moorgold, and she reads out horoscopes, and she does it in this very wispy sort of ethereal voice. And last week when I was reading out the Dutch Pinball email and I went into that kind of fantasy voice, I was tuning in Karen Moorgold. So John Popadiuk has updated his website. Is that correct?
Sure. Would you like to read out the little blurb that he's put on his website, Marty?
Okay.
In your best voice?
I will try. I will try my best. The pinball work of John Popadiuk, pinball inventor, trademark. Why the silver ball? The game of pinball has always been represented a complex problem of applying a layer of social justice bonded to a wave of pure emotional power. A fascinating mix. All of this is sublimely disguised within the ultimate battle that pits man against the powers of the universe and popular culture. All for 25 cents. Okay, here we go, Karen. Explore the inner processes, methods, and real game designs of enigmatic pinball designer John A. Popadiuk as he attempts to demystify the pinball machine and his attempt to rule the pinball universe. I mean, what a fucking load of shit. I mean, come on. Just what the fuck is that?
Okay, define enigmatic, difficult to interpret or understand. Yes, John Popadiuk is definitely enigmatic. Oh my gosh. Oh. Wow. Just what an absolute fluff piece of shit. Like, it just, who's that for? Who is it for? It sounds like I've never met John Popadiuk, and this is probably really rude to say because, you know, give the person the benefit of the doubt until you meet them. It sounds like he likes the smell of his own farts. That's what it sounds like. Unless someone else wrote that and was like, hey, put in your website. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. He wrote that about himself.
Honestly, it's represented a complex problem of applying a layer of social justice bonded to a wave of pure emotional power. Right there. Fuck off. Fuck off. Right there. I just say, fuck off.
Okay.
A layer of social justice. Okay, I have drunk a bit, alright? So, there's that. But even if I was completely sober right now, the game of pinball, like, have you ever, like, Ryan, honestly.
Yes.
Have you ever walked up to a pinball machine? Have you ever walked up to a pinball machine with your money, and as you're about to put your money into this pinball machine, have you thought to yourself, I'm about to play something that is a complex problem of applying a layer of social justice bonded to a wave of pure emotional power? Have you ever thought that to yourself?
I'm not John Popadiuk, so
I want to
unfortunately,
know
I don't
who
think that way.
out there write to us. I want people to write to us and say, that is exactly what I'm thinking when I'm about to play a pinball machine. A complex problem of applying a layer of social justice bonded to a wave of pure emotional power.
Maybe it's because he's saying it's only 25 cents. I paid $2 for a game. I paid $2 for a game here, so maybe if I could get 8 games for that amount, maybe I would have this more spiritual connection to the pinball machine.
I just don't get that. Okay.
Happy New Year to John Popadiuk. I hope 2018 brings...
So just while we're here, I just want to talk about the bit where it says...
Yes.
Applying a layer of social justice.
How many times
bonded to a wave. No, wait. Here we go. Social justice is a concept of fair and just relations between the individual and society. This is measured by the explicit and tacit terms for the distribution of wealth, opportunities for personal activity, and social privileges. In Western, as well as older Asian cultures, the concept of social justice has often referred to the process of ensuring that individuals fulfill their societal roles and receive what's their due from society. In the current global grassroots movement I'm almost done. In the current global grassroots movement for social justice, the emphasis has been on the breaking of barriers for social mobility, the creation of safety nets, and economic justice.
Cool. What does that got to do with pinball?
I just want you to answer that to me. What does it mean in relation to pinball?
I reckon he's done what I used to do when I was like in year 11, year 12. English was my worst subject. So what I did is I wrote my little, paragraph, and then I copied words into like thesaurus.com.
Yep.
And I'm like, okay, I'm going to change the word to that. And he must have had some other word, and the thesaurus has changed it to social justice.
Okay. Can we just get real for a second?
Yes.
Do you know what I want?
Yeah? You want to interview John Popadiuk? I don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think we are ever going to get John Popadiuk. And I don't think John Popadiuk would ever be interviewed again after his interview with Nate Shivers on Coast to Coast. Not that it was a bad interview. It was actually a fantastic interview, but John is his worst enemy. He opens his mouth. He says things that he probably shouldn't say. What I want from John Popadiuk is for him to release pinball machines and redeem his name. I honestly, genuinely, I've just had a bit of fun talking about social justice and pure emotional power because we're doing a podcast. We need material. But
it's a slow week.
It really is.
It's a slow week. We do 10 minutes on social justice.
But you know what I want?
Yes.
I don't want things in the pinball community that people can take the piss out of. I actually had a lot of fun taking the piss out of John Popadiuk, but I don't want to be in that position. I want John Popadiuk somehow to redeem his name, make a great game, and everybody say, okay, that was a bad period in John Popadiuk's life, but he's come good, everything is right in the world. I really do want things to be positive in the pinball community. I don't want shit like this.
Maybe we shouldn't be such smart asses then when we talk about and then host the twerpies and no.
I can't help it. It's this Australian way. That's what we do. We are a culture that likes to take the piss out of things. Yeah, we do. And that's what we do. So,
and a lot of people don't understand it, like a guy walks up to me on the weekend and I just hosted this, this massive event. It's like, what the fuck's up with your hair, Ryan? That's how he'll introduce himself to me, and that's just I don't take it personally. That's just the Aussie way of just it's banter, just constant banter.
Yeah, we like to find the funny side of things, and we've definitely found the funny side of this thing on John's website. John, if you are listening, and I know he listens,
really?
No, I have no idea. I hope he listens. And all I want to say is, let's take the jokes aside. I genuinely am batting for him. I want him to make a fantastic machine. Obviously not Magic Gold, because we played that and it was complete piss. But I want him to make a great game and redeem himself, because he's made some great games that people love. I'd love him to push that forward. So whatever you're doing in your cocoon, go and do it, and come back and bring us a great pinball machine. Please do it.
5 days of Deep Root, baby. That's all right. Attack from Mars remake. We jinxed it last week when we were talking about how no one's having issues and everything's okay. They released a little news statement basically saying they've identified a problem if you change the power settings.
Yes, I've heard that. Yeah, so if it goes lower than normal than standard, it can actually cause a big problem. Yeah,
like I think certain ICs blow or have issues. So the moral of the story is that if you have an Attack from Mars remake, please leave your coil settings, either flipper coils or normal coils, on the default settings. And I think they'll release an update soon, or it might need a hardware update. I'm not sure, but don't muck around with those settings until they've figured it out.
So James, we're talking to you. Keep it all on default. They said that they're going to be releasing a software update soon, but they just want a couple of weeks to be able to make sure that it actually has fixed the problem. In the meantime, everybody, if you're listening and you have an Attack from Mars remake, put everything back to default and you won't blow up your machine.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it just sets the entire thing on fire, right? Like, just
it actually blows
blow
up
your machine,
and then we'll actually burn down your house.
It's when you rule the universe. Like, it just that's the wizard mode. It just sets your pin on fire.
That's the next level of interactivity when it comes to pinball.
4D pinball.
Absolutely. Well, have you ever seen, as a side note, that film clip? And I encourage people to watch this, of Whirlwind, where somebody has put one of those leaf blower units on the top of it.
Like one of those ones they use in film clips for like snow and stuff like that.
Yes. So somebody
haven't.
No, honestly, okay. So I'm going to send you the link so you can link it in our show notes. But somebody linked one of those leaf blowers, because Whirlwind has a fan on the top of the headbox. So when you go into multi-ball, it sort of blows wind at you. Somebody hooked up a leaf blower to it. You have got to see this. It is.
What am I searching for? I need to see it now. Whirlwind.
I don't know, Whirlwind leaf blower. Probably.
Whirlwind pinball fan.
But I guess that's probably an interesting point. I mean, how can you move pinball into 4D? 3D being,
you don't need to.
Perspective. 4D is interactive from the machine itself.
I don't know, just electric shock people if they drain the ball or something.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm fine with normal 3D pinball. Just Steve Ritchie can tell me I'm shit when I drain the ball. That's plenty for me. I can't find it. Let's move on to the next one.
We will link it in the show notes, but it is one of the funniest things you will ever see. Someone hooking up a leaf blower to a Whirlwind pinball machine.
All right. The last news piece we have today is Houdini.
They said shipped.
They said they were going to ship it, and I'm not sure how many. I think they only shipped one, possibly, or maybe under 5. But I think it was more like, "Hey, we promised everyone that we're going to do this. Let's get this one out." I mean, they did ship one and put it on site, so to speak. But I think this is the first one to customers. It's a pretty quick turnaround. It's funny because, I'm not sure how well Houdini is selling and how the hype is, but, this is kind of pretty quick compared to, say, like a Wizard of Oz or something else that took 3 years to come to market. So they've done well.
Yeah. Look, it's interesting. And again, I refer back to when we were talking about this with Kaneda when he came on our show. It's just interesting to know with American Pinball, we kind of want to know more about the company to know more about their capability. What is the size of their warehouse? How many employees do they have? How many people are on the assembly line? Where do they get their parts from? All that kind of stuff. Just to know, is American Pinball a bona fide, that's the correct pronunciation, a bona fide pinball manufacturer. And we want this because we want Houdini, obviously, to be released, and obviously we talked about whether the fact that they're going to get 1,000 out there or not. That's part of it. But if Houdini is their first game, and they did that with a very quick turnaround time based on what we talked about last week with the Joe Balsa interview, imagine what they could do in the future. That's really what we want. I'm just going to put it out there. What everybody wants, and I'm speaking for everybody when I say this, what everybody wants is an alternative to Stern. And obviously, yes, we've got Jersey Jack, but we want Jersey Jack to release a machine every year. Hijack, hopefully you release a machine every year. But what people want is an alternative to Stern.
But do they want an alternative to Stern, or do they just want Stern to be better? And these companies are the ones that push them and force them to be better.
Well, absolutely, you're right. What people want is for Stern to not release these machines that are, how can I say this? I don't want to say half-baked, because they're not half-baked. They're actually fully-fledged machines, but they're Stern by numbers. What they really want is for Stern to start innovating, start pushing things forward, start surprising us. And, you know, we looked at Guardians of the Galaxy and we were hoping for something new, and it's, from all accounts, it's a great machine, but it is more of the same. What people are wanting is for Stern to evolve, and if Stern can't evolve, then make it another company that's going to do it.
I think Stern's biggest issue is software and not the hardware design. I don't mind I haven't played Guardians yet, but from all accounts, it doesn't really play like the machines that it's kind of copying, so to speak. So I think the biggest thing that needs to be totally eliminated from Stern is a machine like Guardians of the Galaxy that is released in beta code. And I don't think that anyone, it's up to you what you do with your money, but I 100% won't buy any new in-box pinball machines unless I'm totally satisfied with the code, because you're encouraging the company to say, hey, I'm happy to go along with you on this ride. And as we were talking about before with Aerosmith, they do come through. I don't think that there still has been Stern machines that have been forgotten and never updated, but there's been Williams machines that suffered from the same thing. It's just, don't let them get away with it, so to speak. Don't let them, don't encourage them by buying. I know,
I understand. But if people keep buying these machines, and remember what they've always got up their sleeve, well, it's not even actually their sleeve, they're very obviously, they've got these great themes, and these great themes people get emotionally connected to. As I've said many times, if they were to release Iron Maiden, I would pretty much buy that sight unseen, because I am so emotionally connected to the band. I would just love to see that machine come to life. And I would also be prepared for the code to be developed over 12 months. I've said before, I really enjoyed the evolution of Star Trek. When I kept getting these code updates, it refreshed the game for me, and I played that a lot more in all these different intervals. So I'm okay with code updates. I still would like them to be a little bit more innovative. And we saw with Guardians of the Galaxy, and I was watching the IE Pinball stream of the Heads Up tournament they did for the launch of Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm starting to really like the machine again. I like the layout. I love the art. I kind of like what it represents. But a part of me still says I wish it was just something more, something advancing the pinball manufacturing world.
Yeah. Well, you and me like different things out of pinball. I'm very connected to sound, and when a pinball machine is in beta code, that's usually the sound kind of comes together right at the end, unless they kind of, because certain assets need to go in there, and they do the sound last, I believe. So to me, that's what kind of puts the icing on the cake. But back to Houdini, I messaged Wayne to see, because I know he's at the distributor for him, Mr. Pinball down here, but he's on holiday, so I have no idea if this means there'll be maybe a sample coming down, or maybe it'll just be like, hey, we've got an order for 20 here in Australia, and they ship down 20 with no samples. But I am interested to play the machine.
I'm also very keen, and there's a Facebook page, and I can't remember the Facebook page now, but I think it's Pinball Enthusiasts, and somebody has been to level 257. I have no idea where it is. Let's just say it's Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago.
It is cool. And they've got a Houdini there, and they've been posting a lot of...
You did it again.
Did I say Houdini?
Yes.
I said Houdini.
Before we started, we're going through the list, and Marty said Houdini, and I laughed my ass off.
I know. I'm slowing my words. Anyway, I'm really loving the videos that whoever this person is that is posting to this site, because that's the only way we really are going to, particularly in Australia, we're ever going to know what this game plays like is just through video, because we just won't get a machine here to test ourselves.
So the number one thing, man, that's what Stern does well. They bring a machine and people buy it, they put it on site, and it's everywhere. I said it is in certain parts of Australia, but I saw a thread on Aussie Arcade just a couple of days ago. Where can I play dialed in on site in Australia?
I saw that, yeah.
Nowhere.
No.
Like, you can't. There was one on site, and then it was pulled for whatever reason. Maybe it's sold, or maybe there was an issue. But that's it. I don't think anyone in the entire. There's 25 million people here, and no one can play it on site.
Well,
that's
right now we've got Wizard of Oz, we've got Hobbit, and we've got Dialed In. You've got your Hobbit out on site.
Yeah.
How many other Jersey Jack machines are out there on site at the moment?
I don't know. I don't think.
I think there's any.
I think Wizard of Oz has a lot of issues when it's on for an extended period of time. They might have fixed that in the latest update, but I know there was one at Netherworld and it was pulled. There was one at Pinball Paradise and it was pulled. You pulled your own Hobbit, obviously not because they had issues, just because you wanted it back home.
Yeah, I just kind of felt that, because I've got the special edition, Smaug edition of Hobbit.
You thought it was too special for the general public?
I honestly, it sounds bad when you say it like that. I just felt that it was too special to be on location.
Yeah.
But it was a great game and it earned good money. But yeah, so that's our problem in Australia, and we're Australian podcasts, so we're talking to, the Australian people, is that we don't get a lot of sample machines. We don't necessarily get to see machines on site before we get a chance to purchase.
Well, okay. I guess the reason why people don't put Jersey Jack machines on site, just to address the elephant in the room, they're too expensive. I mean, in Australia, dialed in is $14,000.
Yeah.
No dialed ins that were bought have been put on for sale yet, but I'm guessing, take it out of the box, you've lost $1,500 maybe, or $2,000. Unless you have an absolute killer location, like you're, it's going to be sitting there for a couple of months just to break even. So people don't really want that kind of, it's maybe probably not a very good investment. I wish there was something you can do. You can get a cheaper price if you put it on site or something, but that doesn't exist. And
for our US listeners, 14,000 Australian dollars equals $10,931. So how does that compare to...
Yeah, it's $9,000 in the US, but that doesn't include tax. If they buy it from not their state, or a state that has no tax, they pay no tax. So basically, they don't go to their local distributor usually, unless they're in a state that has no tax. They go to the next state, which is it's weird. It's just a weird philosophy. In Australia, everyone has to pay 10% GST, regardless of if it's bought 1 minute from your house or on the other side of Australia. It's treated as the same kind of the same market. So they've got this whole loophole system where you don't have to pay any tax at all. So the price you see is the price you get if you get it from another state. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, I couldn't understand what you were saying.
You idiot.
You're talking about tax and states and stuff like that.
Well, you asked me about the price.
All I know is that Jersey Jack machines are very expensive, so you don't see them out on site because they really are better suited to home use.
Yeah.
And Houdini is going to be the same. Houdini, I mean, you're saying Mr. Pinball is the distributor. He'll probably have one in his showroom, and then people can go and play it and then decide. And so many people are saying this at the moment, and we say this again. Play a machine before you buy it. you will only know that you're going to love a machine once you've played the machine. The challenge that we've got, and even Stern's in that situation, LEs sell out before the machine is available, before you get to play it. So
not anymore. They used to. There's a lot of Aerosmith still available.
Yeah, fair enough. And there's probably still a lot of Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy, not Aerosmith. I think Aerosmith in Australia did sell out.
Right, okay. But so there's always that chance. So you've got to really love the theme, and you've got to love the layout based on pictures that you've seen to determine whether you're going to put your money down for a limited edition. But the good thing, I guess, with Houdini is we said it last week or the week before. They're only going to do one model, so there's no Pro Premium, Limited Edition, Collector's Edition, Super Limited Edition. There's just one model. So, and they haven't said that they're going to cap the production on this. So, hopefully, we will get to see one. We'll get to play it, and then we can decide. But based on the videos that I've seen, as I said, pinball enthusiasts, look it up on Facebook. It looks like a fun game. It really does. It kind of looks like Stern 1.1, if that makes sense. Just like a 10% increase on Stern machine.
Yeah. Should we move on to the Twerpies?
Yeah, let's go on. Let's talk about the Twerpies, because you know how much I loved us doing this.
Yes, this is all me. Marty likes to distance himself from anything that causes controversy. I'm the opposite. I'm full steam ahead. So this is not to be confused with the Twerpies. The Twerpies is going to be an annual vote for the best stuff in pinball, the best theme of the year, the best theme integration. I decided to do. There we go. You like that, Marty?
Thank you.
The Twerpies, which is...
I came up with the name. I'll give you that.
Yeah, you thought of the name. The worst stuff in pinball, just for a bit of fun and just to see, I think it might be good for manufacturers to kind of, even though we didn't get like 1,000 votes or anything, we got over 100. That's a magical number that I wanted just to make sure it's kind of accurate enough to report on. I'm not going to report on 10 people. So we'll go through half of them today, and we'll do the other half next week. Okay, so the first one was worst theme of the year based on theme only.
And this was a big surprise, because some of the answers that you'll see, there's some clear front runners. This one, there's not. I mean, there is, but there's a couple of also rans as well.
Yeah. So the two machines that received the least. Actually, the four machines, because it's a three-way tie for the second most. So, Alien received the least amount of votes. So people think that that's possibly not the best theme, but the best, not worst theme. Oh gosh,
which one's this for worst theme of the year?
Yeah, so they received the least amount of votes. So that theme doesn't offend anyone. Neither does TNA, Star Wars, and Guardians. All less than 5% of the vote. Each. Then there's there's four machines that that people
there's four machines all wanting to be the stinker of the year.
Yeah, so one of them is in number 4 position, the Jetsons.
Yep.
Third is Lexi Lightspeed.
Yep.
Second is Dialed In. Which is quite funny, because Dialed In still, what I think I've learned from all these results is that there is a stigma that's created when you release your machine, and it is hard/impossible to shake it off. If you launch your pinball machine and people don't get the theme, people get it now. People don't say it's a mobile phone theme. It's a disaster theme. That's what it is. But when they launched it, just that Pat Lawler speech, I know we've talked about it a million times before, and I hate talking about it, but it kind of like ruined the image of the pinball machine, and they've been struggling ever since to say, and it feels like it's the community's has been trying to let everyone know, hey, no, it's not about a mobile phone. It's just there's a mobile phone on the playfield. It's about disaster themes and futuristic city, kind of like SimCity. So they got the second worst. And
I can understand why it gets the second worst. And look, it was only 20% of all the votes. And I can understand it just because people don't get it. And there's probably people that have voted that haven't played it. You only really get the theme once you play it.
Well, Dialed In and Total Nuclear Annihilation were very close in a lot of these, not for winning it, but, in the lower category of votes, except for this one. So it's funny that Total Nuclear Annihilation didn't get hardly any votes for theme because people understand the theme, I guess.
Yep.
Better. You can explain it in a couple of seconds, whereas Dialed In is a bit harder. The winner, with the whopping 22.7% of the vote, is Aerosmith.
Which really surprises me. Wow, I mean,
why
maybe
does it surprise you? Because everyone thought it was a joke. When someone put up a thread on the pin site saying they're going to do Aerosmith next, everyone's like, as if, Metallica, yes, Kiss, yes, AC/DC, hell yeah.
Yeah,
but
okay.
Aerosmith?
I get what you mean. Because the next one we're going to talk about, obviously, is worst theme integration, and it makes sense. You're probably right. And I sort of said that before, in that it just seemed like a really odd theme to choose.
Yeah. Well, worst theme integration. Okay, so the three that got the smallest amount of votes, so people think this has good theme integration, Total Nuclear Annihilation and Lexi Lightspeed, only one vote each, so less than 1%. And Dialed In was the third least. The number one, and this was a bit of a blowout, this is 40% of the vote, is, can you guess what it is, Marty?
I don't. I think everybody could possibly guess. Yeah. It's Star Wars.
Yes, the best theme of the year. So the biggest intellectual property, and people were just a little bit disappointed with how it was integrated. Second was the Jetsons, and third was Guardians of the Galaxy with 14.5% of the vote. As
I said, no surprise there. The biggest criticism that Star Wars has had is that people don't feel like they are in the game, they're in the movie or in the universe of Star Wars. It's just a Stern machine that happens to have Star Wars characters plastered on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think even Stern would probably think that they didn't integrate that well enough, but I think their hands were bound with a lot of things. I mean, you can put some blame on Stern, but maybe that's just the kind of snowball effect of getting the most protected intellectual property out there. That they don't want things to look a certain way. They don't want you to put certain things on there. So yeah, we'll move on to the next one. The next one is worst sound and call-outs. Now, we just only started this, I think, 2 weeks ago. So I think the winner of this is a victim of what, the current jokes that's going around. The least amount of votes for this, for worst sound, is Total Nuclear Annihilation. So that might give you a hint on, what wins the Twerpies. It hardly got any votes at all. Alien was up there as well with the least amount. Batman 66. Let's do the top three. Top three worst sound and call-outs. Third was Star Wars. Not many votes. The Jetsons was second, but a massive 47.3% of the vote was a Bobbly Bobo. I mean, we were talking about it just 5 minutes ago. They released the pinball machine with hardly any sound in there, so this is hot off the press. If that machine was released in January, I'm sure it would have kind of shaken off the bad stigma, but maybe it doesn't. As we said, for a while there was for worst codes. I don't want to spoil it for next week, but Batman was leading for ages. It's hard to shake off first impressions.
Yeah, absolutely, and hopefully, as we've said before, hopefully people will learn from this. But yeah, definitely, it's also really hard. It's an early machine with early code, and what sort of impact does that have? Do people sort of now have a tolerance for early code, and they will know that the call-outs will come later? But this is obviously, highlighting. People are saying 47.3% of people are saying Guardians of the Galaxy has the worst sound and call-outs. And it kind of, I don't know, I don't agree with that. I don't think it does at all.
It's just the hot topic of the moment. Yeah. As I said, it's a victim of the time, and it'll probably happen with the Twerpies as well. Certain things are hot, certain things are cold. It depends on when you run the vote.
I can't remember how I voted, but I would say for me, the number 2 vote here, which was the Jetsons, that for me has got the worst sound and call-outs, mainly because there is so much you can draw on with the Jetsons world, and there's nothing in that pinball machine.
Yeah, I would I mean, if it was held at the start of the year, I would have chosen Batman because I can't play pinball to the kind of the jazz music, and there really wasn't any call outs, but they kind of fixed that. So as I said, we'll see what Guardians ends up being. The next one was worst artwork, and hello Christopher Franchi, because you win by having the two pinball machines with the least amount of votes. Batman 66 and Guardians of the Galaxy less than 3% each. So well done. Those are the bottom two. The rest of them, wow. This just shows you that art is very personal, because there is a clear winner, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pinball machines that have between 8 and say 13%. Very, very close there. So those machines are Jetsons, Alien, Dialed In, Lexi Lightspeed, Total Nuclear Annihilation, and Aerosmith. I think Aerosmith should be close to last as well, like the Christopher Franchi pins, but yeah, I don't know. What are these people? What are these 12 people not like about Aerosmith? It's too busy. I don't know. What are people saying about Aerosmith? Because I haven't heard anyone say that the artwork sucks.
Again, it probably just comes down to theme. It doesn't matter how good you were trying to make Aerosmith look. People just wouldn't have liked the look of Aerosmith on a pinball machine.
Okay.
But
well,
I, as I said, I think it's almost like a minor miracle that they managed to make Aerosmith look cool.
Okay. Well, Dirty Donny, he's
done a great job there.
Yeah. So the winner, aka the loser for the worst art, and you can tell when something has bad art when Stern doesn't put a name on it. Like, who did Batman artwork? Christopher Franchi. Who did Ghostbusters? Zombie Eddie. Who did Game of Thrones? No one. They don't. I don't think they put right. Correct me if I'm wrong, but they don't put a name to it. It's just internal Photoshop work, right?
It's art by Adobe.
Art by Adobe. So Star Wars, 28.2% of the vote, is the winner for the worst artwork, playfield and cabinet.
I thought that would have been a lot higher, to be honest.
Well, that's we're learning a lot from this vote. Artwork is very subjective. I mean, I think the artwork on Dialed In is brilliant. It's not like award winning or anything, but it got 9.1% of the vote. There was enough people out there that don't like the way it looks. I remember everyone was talking about the guy with the high waisted jeans. Pat Lawler, stuck in his stuff. Like, oh, geez, give it a break. It's artwork. You never find two people that like exactly the same thing with that. The last one we're going to talk about today. So going through just the first 5, we'll do the next 5 next week, just to drag it on. This is another one where people are very split. The worst rules / code. Now, the oh wow, Dialed In 0 votes. What does that tell you there? They might win the best code for the Twippies. Absolutely no votes at all. Total Nuclear Annihilation, very, very small amount of votes. Lexi Lightspeed, a small amount of votes, but I think that's more purely that no one has played the game. It could have absolutely horrible rules. Aerosmith and Alien, also very small amount of votes. Now, the top 4. In 4th position, Star Wars. 17.3% of people think it has the worst codes, and they said this is just in the last 2 weeks. So I'm sure people would have said it was worse early on, but it's getting better and better. In 3rd position, Batman 66 was 20% of the votes. In 2nd position, we have the Jetsons with 20.9% of the votes, and the winner is Guardians of the Galaxy, a Bobbly Bobo.
Again, it's an indictment on the fact that they've got early code, release full code on your machines, and they did it before. We've talked about this before. What's its name? No. Game of Thrones. Yes. Game of Thrones came out with really good code right off the bat. Do it again, please.
Yeah. It's that's Dwight. Dwight never takes too long to do his code. It's usually the Lonnie games and the Lyman games. They all have their pros and cons. Batman 66 is the one that I wanted to talk about because code is getting a lot better. I haven't played it recently, but it's starting to shape up really nicely. And if you kind of to buy it now, people enjoy it. So being in third position, but I said it was leading for a lot of the time. That's what I was saying before. When you release a pinball machine and people start talking about it, people hold those impressions. It's very hard. You say you pride yourself money that you will flip flop and you change your mind, and that's one of your strengths. You don't hold the same opinion. A lot of people obviously aren't like that. A lot of people like to hold the same opinion. A pinball machine that they think is shit is a shit pinball machine forever.
Yeah, fair enough. I understand. And it is getting better. And, God forbid we do this again next year.
We will. People are going to love it. Write in and tell us how much you love it.
Yeah, we'll see how we go.
So next week we'll go through the worst light show, the worst toys and gimmicks, the worst playfield layout and gameplay, the worst display and animations, the most unreliable game, and the worst game of the year overall.
There you go. So there you go. So that is the Twerpies. Reminder that this is a bit of fun. However, reading out the results now, it's kind of not as fun as I thought it would be. It's actually quite sobering that these machines are just really highlighting that these manufacturers, and I'm talking about Stern really, just need to have these games a little bit more along the line when they release them. I think it's now time for a special guest, don't you think, Ryan?
Sure, very special. The Australian one.
It is. The person, I think probably the person that we've spoken about the most since we started this podcast, the one in Australia, it is Jordan Treadaway. How are you, Jordan?
Good, thanks, Marto. Nice to see you guys.
Marto. Should I call you Marto instead of Marty?
You've called me Marto before.
Just once, I think.
It is.
So should we start with the normal questions? How did you get into pinball, Jordan?
Who are you, Jordan? Like, why should people know about you?
Oh, I don't know. I'm just the average high school kid these days, so not that special, really.
No, but you've obviously made a big name for yourself in the pinball, particularly the competitive scene. Give us a bit of a history. How did you get into pinball?
Well, it's been a long time ago since I got into pinball. Ever since I was about 6-7 years old, I just, it was one of those sort of things where I saw sitting in the corner and I got interested in it, and I whenever I played it for the first time and I got hooked. And ever since that day, I've been just seeking him out and playing him whenever I can.
So your dad wasn't into pinball kind of and ushered it in. It was you were out somewhere, your dad gave you a couple of bucks to play, and then it's now part of the
much.
Okay. Do you remember the game, or does he remember the game?
No. Well, the thing is, my dad was never really into pinball when he was, when he was a teen, even though it was booming around his age pretty much. And I was sort of the one to really bring it into the family and get him back into it quite a fair bit. Okay. I do remember playing in Indy 500 a very long time ago at a bowling alley nearby me. So, that was the first game I remember.
Okay. And what machines do you have now in the collection?
Well, it's slowly building over the last couple of years. We started with Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
And then we've got AC/DC Pro after that. And then we also recently got a Metallica Pro. And now I've got Jokers, 1988, I believe. It's a System 11. And I'm taking that on as a school project next year for year 12.
So explain this for us, because it's an interesting school project to...
Yeah, so basically for one of my subjects, systems engineering, you have to bring in a project or build one of your own, and you've got like the whole year to do it pretty much. And I've chosen to bring in a pinball machine that's only just working at the moment and fix it up, clean it up, and modify it a bit to fulfill the outcomes, really. So, yeah.
That's bloody amazing to have that as a school project. I wish I had fixing up a pinball machine as a school project.
Yeah, I really
liar,
play.
Marty. Okay, I saw you on the weekend, and you were the most disinterested in helping fix your hobby.
No, I understand that, but what I'm saying is, if I'd had that as a subject in school, maybe I would be more interested. But for you, Jordan, like for those people that don't know, Jordan, you're now going to be in your final year of school this year, and to have fixing a pinball machine as your project for the year, that's got to be a dream come true.
Yeah, I'm hoping it doesn't feel like schoolwork, to be honest. That's the main thing.
You certainly don't want to ruin it. But so why did you pick Jokers?
I just picked Jokers because it's a System 11, and I've heard System 11s are quite pinball machines aren't easy to work on by any means, but it's on the easier side. It's not too complex, and finding parts hopefully isn't too difficult. And I don't mind the theme. It's quite an interesting game with a cool layout. So, yeah, that's why I picked it.
Now, your school mates, are they interested at all in pinball, or are you a bit of a lone shark in your friendship group with pinball?
Yeah, look, I'm a bit of a lone shark, unfortunately. I've tried to get them on board with it, but they're way more interested in PS4 and playing video games these days. That's where it's at, really, in my age group. But they're understanding, and they've definitely learnt a lot more about it ever since I told them about what I do, and they find it quite interesting, actually. Yeah.
How long did it take for you to actually sort of come clean and tell them about your pinball hobby?
It depends how well you know the person, you know what I mean? Like, these guys I've known for a couple of years now, like pretty much started high school, and about a year in I was, they all say, oh, we play sports outside school and all this, and I don't. I like to play pinball as a hobby, and I enjoy it, and I told them about it, and they're all cool about it, so yeah.
Now, so you're number 7, currently ranked number 7 in Australia, and we've talked about you previously. In fact, we've probably talked about you more than anybody else because we're obviously very proud of you.
Well, it's because you keep on beating us in tournaments, right?
Yeah, he does beat us in tournaments. You are very good, and you're currently number 12 in the Power 100. I know you, and I know you well, and Ryan probably to a lesser degree. What's your journey? How did you get to be a good pinball player?
I think it's just a lot of playing and experience on different eras of games and stuff like that. But I started I found that I was really getting into it when I started watching YouTube videos online. I found the Papa YouTube channel, and I just started watching tutorials and stuff like that and getting to know games and the different rules within them. And then eventually, when I think it was around 2015, Supernova, I went into my first competition there, and I met a lot of you guys for the first time. And that's when my knowledge of pinball really started to branch out a bit further, and I started to really research games a bit more in depth and practice more. So yeah.
So that was April 2015, and since then, just to go through some stats, you've competed in 86 tournaments, and you've come first 35 times. You're ranked 201st in the world, but I think that's probably more to do with not traveling to the US, because you're rated first in the world. I have no idea what rating means, that you're first in the world, and your efficiency percentage is 6th in the world. And as Martin said before, you're currently ranked 12th in the Power 100. So some good stats there for someone who's just kind of started, about less than 3 years ago. Where do you see yourself? I mean, obviously you've got year 12, it's the most important year of your studies. So do you still plan on going to as many competitions as you went to this year? And how do you...
Oh, go on, sorry. Yeah.
How do you juggle it? How do you juggle school and competitive pinball play?
Well, that's the thing. My parents are quite conscious of me. They want me to do well in school and do the best I possibly can. So I think I'm going to tone it down quite a fair bit this year. It's a new year now. I get to just really choose where I want to go and what I want to do. And I think I might play pinball more as a social thing, and not really get involved in as many competitions as I have this year, which is unfortunate. I like playing competitively, but I also like the social aspect of it heaps, because we always get to see the same group of people, and they're all great people, and it's really enjoyable. But yeah, balancing it with school is quite a tough one, because I've heard that the workload gets a bit more intense this year, and homework is going to get in the way of it. So I'm probably not, like I said, not really going to get as involved as I have been this year, but I still will play for sure.
Well, one of the things that happened in 2017, which is now last year, is that you got a chance to go to Papa, and we've talked about this before on the podcast. In that, at the Jersey Jack dinner, we were sort of sitting outside having a chat, and I kind of looked at you and I said, "We really need to get you to a US tournament." It was just really bizarre conversation where we sort of just came up with this great idea that maybe we go to a US tournament, and it turned out that Papa was going to be right smack bang in the middle of your school holidays. And then 4 months later, we were at an airport flying to New York first and then to Papa. Tell me about your experience there.
Papa was, I will never forget it. It was incredible. I really can't put it into words. I remember walking in there even when we were running outside in the rain on the first day. It was pissing down with rain, and we were just waiting outside lining up, and I was so eager to get in and just see what this place was like. And I remember walking in and just I was taking it all in. I was overwhelmed. I was like, holy crap, this place is huge. It was incredible. Yeah.
And so talk to me about how your approach to the tournament, because beforehand you and I went together and we had decided that we were going to go in the B division. In retrospect, you definitely should have gone into the A division. But what was your approach going into Papa?
My approach was really to just have fun and just overall have an amazing experience and try to get as much out of it as I can and, take it home with me. That was the whole goal, just going there pretty much and trying to do as best I possibly could as well as you might have, yeah.
And so speaking of as best you could, you did go as best you could.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because before we even went, I was thinking of going in A division, and I was like, oh, look, all the big guns are up there. It'll be really tough, and I might not even qualify for who knows what's going to happen. And I thought to myself, all right, what's my ranking? Can I go in B division? And I think I could just squeeze in only by like less than 100 positions. So I could squeeze into B division, but I still might not qualify, but I might, even if I do qualify, I'll be able to get more out of it and really, make those last couple of days count. So that's what made me lean towards going into B division. So. And
you won B division.
Yeah, it was not planned at all. No way. It was, as each round went on, it was just like, okay, I'm going through, just maintain my composure, keep calm and just enjoy myself, really. That was the whole mentality of it. And I made it through the initial first round. We didn't play in the first round because we had quite a good qualifying run. Yeah.
You qualified first.
Yeah. Yeah, and you qualified second.
That is true.
It was tough. Yep. So we got to buy the first round, and then the next couple of rounds, it was sort of just stay alive and just play safe and keep calm. But I did have that advantage of picking games because I was quite a high qualifier. I was top qualifier, so that really did help a lot.
And you definitely picked games to your advantage. But a lot of people have sort of said to me, when they found out that you won, people sort of went, well, of course. And I had to sort of say to people, because I was there beside you, because I got knocked out very early, but I was there beside you, and it wasn't necessarily an easy run to win.
No, I remember in the quarterfinals, I was playing on Metallica, and I played it the previous round, and I was really happy. I think I got like 120 million, and this Metallica was set up incredibly difficult,
really tough,
because it was from the A division qualifying, so it was brutal. And I put up, I think, 6 million after playing a Sparky multi-ball and everything, and I was just sitting there like, if I come last in this game, I'm out. There was no chance I was going to make it through the next round. And then
I remember you came up to me at that time. Your second ball was done. I came up to you and said, "How are you going?" And you said, "I'm done. I've had 2 terrible balls. I'm done. I'm pretty sure I'm out." And then what happened?
Yeah. And then it was pretty much a prey game from that point on. You shred away
everybody.
Yeah, I had an amazing third ball, and it worked out somehow. Yep. I just started finding the shots, and it got me over the line, which was nice.
Metallica's that kind of game where you can set up enough with Sparky to be able to get that multi-ball, and once you get that, you get your confidence, and then things start happening for you.
Yeah, Metallica is that sort of a game where, after 2 balls, you may not have much of a score, but the progress is what really counts, and you can start cashing out all that progress you've made on the 3rd ball, like, starting all the multi-balls and working your way towards a crank it up. So, yeah, Metallica is a game like that where it's really not over. It's a 1-ball game, essentially. If you can grind it out and get towards something, you can be right back in it.
Do you set up your machines at home as brutal as these tournament games to kind of, increase your skills, or do you just kind of leave things on factory settings?
I leave things on factory settings in terms of rules, but physically setting them up, I like to set games up a bit steeper and put outlanes all the way up and make the tilt nice and tight, and my dad hates it as a result. Yeah. But, yeah, nothing really in the settings I like to change. But before going to Papa, I really just played casually. I wasn't into changing settings and stuff like that. But after coming back and seeing what all the games were set up like over there, I really had a good understanding of what the top players really play with. And, so that's what I took back, and I've started setting up the games a lot tougher now at home.
And before we got to Papa, because obviously I went with you, and we went to New York beforehand. And for me, and I think for you, one of the highlights that we had in New York was going to the Sunshine Laundromat, and we got to play the Big Lebowski. What do you think of that?
I thought it was a really cool game. I liked the layout. I liked the whole theme. I thought it had heaps of potential. It's just such a shame that not all of them have been shipped out around the world yet, because it's quite an incredible game. We both played it, and I think we both enjoyed it quite a fair bit.
And we also entered a tournament at Modern Pinball. How'd you go there? I think
I got 8th or something, but it was quite an interesting tournament. Yeah, I'm not quite sure off the top of my head. But there were a couple of good players in there. They had like Steve Bowden and Daniele Archiari in that comp, so it was quite a few big names in there.
And what I really liked about that comp, and you can remember it as well, was just how welcoming they were to having people into that tournament.
Yeah, everyone was so friendly, and I think what was the guy's name that was running it?
Francesco.
I'm thinking. Yeah, Francesco. Yeah,
Rocca.
Yeah, awesome guy. Yeah, he was just so welcoming and really good community, and you just got that really warm feeling where you walked in there, and everyone was there to have fun and just enjoy themselves, and it was great. It was really good.
So, Jordan, we talked about your U12 year. Looking even more into the future, when you finish year 12, I mean, I guess that is when you're free, so to speak, and you have an opportunity to travel if you want. Are you going to take your game, to the US and travel around, or do you think, that might be cost prohibitive or not something that you'd like to do, and you'd rather just stick to Australia for your comps?
I'd definitely like to go back to the US. Yeah, after going there and coming back, the flight sucks, but when you get there, it's well worth it. I think after school, depending on whether or not I go to uni, I'll try and go back there and really explore America a bit more and go to different states and try and get to Papa, or if not, maybe Pinburg. So
yeah. Okay.
Now, so let's talk about 2017 if we can. So there were quite a lot of machines that were released this year, including the likes of, Aerosmith, Star Wars. I mean, we can talk about you and Star Wars. Unbelievable. How do you feel 2017 has gone as far as new games has gone?
I think 2017's had quite a few good games come out, and there's been a couple I'm not that interested in, but there's been different companies with new games, and it's really great to see the resurgence of pinball continuing on.
Well, the first one was Aerosmith. What do you think of Aerosmith?
I think Aerosmith's a fantastic game. I love the layout. I love the rules are fairly simplistic, but the challenge of the game mixed with the rules just makes it a blast to play. Every game is fun, and it's a fantastic tournament game. It's a fantastic game at home, and like I said, it's just fun in a box. It's so good.
let's put the question this way: if you money aside, someone's going to say, "Here you go, Jordan, a brand new game out of any of these 9: Lexi Lightspeed, TNA, Aerosmith, Star Wars, Guardians, Batman, Jetsons, Alien, or Dialed In." Which one would you take?
Ooh. Oh man, it's quite difficult to pick. I'd probably take Dialed In over all them.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Dialed In it's phenomenal. Each code update's bringing more and more to it, and it's just such a fantastic game. And the layout is incredible. The shots, I don't know how, but in a standard body game, the shots that are in it are just phenomenal. They all feel fantastic. It looks packed just walking up to it. It looks inviting and like a really packed, well-built pinball. The theme for me personally, it's okay. It's not bad, but when you really start playing it, you get immersed in that theme, and it's something you learn to love. Especially with all the different modes and the disasters that the phone causes. It's really good fun to play.
So Star Wars, I mean, Mike talked about it before. You're on a bit of a streak on Star Wars. I don't think anyone's beaten you on Star Wars for a couple of months, including Melbourne Match Play. I mean, why wouldn't it be that? I mean, you obviously connect with the game very well, and you know the rules, you know how to kind of blow things up, including the Death Star. But
well, the deal with that, I reckon I really like Steve Ritchie games. Like, I've got an AC/DC Pro at home, and I love the games and the way they play and the shots that he designs in his games and the way they shoot. But I find that Star Wars can be a bit too similar to recent games that Stern have put out, in particular Game of Thrones. It's sort of when you learn the rules off by heart, really it's just repeat those every single game that you play. And
well, that's what I was going to get at. Is you obviously have a plan when you go into Star Wars, and you pretty much execute that, close to perfect. Yeah. Obviously you've got to change it up now with the new code update. But when I was playing in those finals, I mean, by ball 2 you were at 4 billion points or something, and then you played someone else afterwards. I can't remember who it was, Richard, I think, in the finals, and you did the exact same thing, and you ended up with almost the exact same score. So is that why you I don't think it's a boring game, but do you find that a little bit more boring than a game that requires you to change it up because you are literally you have a plan and you execute it?
Yeah, I love games that change it up. Like Metallic is a great example of that. It's really a situational game where you can have something like Gravemarker really close to being ready, or you can have Crank It Up, Lit at the Scoop, or you can have Lady Justice close, and you're like, oh, well, what do I go for? I've got all these options. What do I pick? Whereas with Star Wars and Game of Thrones, they're great games, but there really is only one road to take to really blow the game up, I find. That's my biggest issue with it.
I think the game also forces you to play certain modes when you don't like Game of Thrones will force you to do Winter is Coming. It kind of like blocks certain things off, and it's like, well, we hit this shot, otherwise you're not progressing. Star Wars now with the lightsaber duel, it's like, okay, you hit that shot, you're not getting out of this mode until you complete it. So that's one thing for me that I don't enjoy too much, but
yeah, look, lightsaber duel it can get in the way, but the light shows alone in lightsaber duel are well worth it. They're so cool, in my opinion, with the whole red and blue going against each other and the video screens of Vader and Obi-Wan fighting. It's pretty good. It's really well integrated, and to me, it doesn't feel as much of a roadblock as something like Winter is Coming is, because you're actively shooting multiple different shots. But
Yeah, but you've got the escape from Boba Fett, I think, which is very similar to that.
Yeah, that's literally it's the same order of shots every single time in that mode. So yeah, when you get in there, if you memorize the shots that you need to shoot, it's pretty much get in, get out. It doesn't change. Unfortunately.
So here's a question for you, Jordan. Just listening to what you've just been saying now, and sort of it just jogged a memory of mine when we were talking previously about Josh Sharp saying that he doesn't find playing pinball, I'm paraphrasing, but sort of fun anymore. He enjoys the competitive side, but he doesn't necessarily find playing pinball machines just for fun anymore. where's that balance for you?
I feel with the modern games, quite a few of them, I don't necessarily, just walk up and go, I'll just have a game because I just feel like playing it, I just feel like having a bit of fun. But with the older games, in particular System 11s, I will just walk up and I just get immersed instantly. I love the older games now. They've really grown on me, especially EMs. I've really come to love them and understand why people have 50 in their house.
Where are you playing these things?
Well, Papa was obviously one place that I got to really experience all these games I'd never seen in my life, and I probably won't see for quite a long time.
And I did notice that, because when you were there, and it wasn't, and Ryan, this is for your benefit as well, there was the competition that happened as well, but in the backdrop behind the competition, there was 300 plus machines to play, from EMs to solid states to new. And Jordan, you kept going back to the EMs and the solid states.
Yeah, I think I played every System 11 they had to offer there. I was on Funhouse for about half an hour at least, because I'd never played one in my life, never seen it, and I was like, all right, this game's gotten a really good rap online, and everyone's talked about it as quite an interesting game, and I had to go see for myself, and I loved it. I instantly fell in love with the game, and I see why people love it so much, and it's so highly regarded as such a great game. And even the EMs as well, they just play so different to a modern game. It's something so new, and it draws you in as soon as you start playing.
Well, it's certainly something I remember was that, I was hanging around the B Division bank for quite a while, and you spent a lot of the time just wandering the Papa facility, playing as many different games as possible.
Yeah, why not? I'm not going to go there for a very long time, so I've tried to play as much as I could of everything.
So would you consider, like, the three main machines that you have, I mean, two of them are alignment sheet games, the other one's a Keith Johnson game, and the other one, obviously, you're fixing up as a project, so that's kind of less about the rules. Would you consider in the future adding one of these System 11 machines or an EM, or do you think it's probably better suited to just playing on location or somewhere versus having it at your house?
Well, the reason why Wizard of Oz is, like, a game like Wizard of Oz is so good is because it's so deep. Like, if you have it at home, you're never gonna see everything really in the game.
Well,
there's so much to do.
You got to Somewhere Over the Rainbow, so yes, you have seen it all, right?
Yeah, I've gotten there. It's not easy. It's not something you can just cruise to, I'll tell you that much, at all. And you guys should both know that very well.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I remember when I asked you about it, because I've got 6 out of the 8 qualifying things before, and you said, yeah, the hardest one is the crystal ball multi-ball, and I said, what? That's like one of the first ones I get sometimes, and I said the hardest one is Fireball Frenzy.
Fireball Frenzy for me too.
And it's funny because that you said that's easy because you can kind of pick your shots, whereas the ball is out of control so much for me that I'm always hitting those crystal ball targets, and therefore always starting the multi-ball. So it's funny, like the more accurate you are, the harder something like that is for you. Like you probably never start out multi-ball on AC/DC because the ball's always going to the orbits.
As soon as you miss something, you find, whoop, I just completed a bank of targets. I don't know how I did that. The ball was flying around. So that's generally how it happens in AC/DC.
Have you gotten to Encore mode on AC/DC?
Wow, yeah. Funny you mentioned this. About a week ago, I decided to turn on AC/DC and play specifically for Encore because I've never gotten there and I really wanted to see what it was like. And my God, is it difficult because the beauty of the game is if you play for score, you can just go jam multi-ball a day and shoot ramps heaps and cash out song jackpots. But if you're playing for Encore, you have to shoot everything in the game, and that includes target banks. And it's quite frustrating at times. It took me many games, but I eventually got there. And it was just that one game where everything was going right. I was shooting TNT dead on, and it was just coming back to the flipper and not down the outlane. It was like, oh, thank you. And I got there, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, hang on, do I still have one more song to go? I was so confused. But, AC/DC is fantastic, and Encore it's incredibly difficult to get to. And then when you get there, there's so much to do in it as well. It's a three ball
mode, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a game inside a game pretty much, and you have to go through everything you've just done, and you're like, oh my god. But the points and the animations that you see as well that you don't normally see in the game, there's quite new animations and callouts that I've never seen before in AC/DC.
Your score depends on your score in the mode, right?
Yeah, that's right. So if you decide to just play the modes, the whole get in, get out approach and not get many points for it, well, your encore won't be as good as it could be if you played those modes for quite a while and built up some points in each one.
So here's the question then, is your grand champion now from that game, or have you learned to kind of, get a better score just by ripping song jackpots on a different game?
No, my grand champion actually came from that game. I got over 1 billion for the first time, which was awesome. Best feeling ever. But I probably wouldn't ever do that in a competition. It's just a bit more for fun, and like in a home environment, you want a challenge and you want to go for things that you've never seen before. So yeah,
sure.
So here's a weird question for you, Jordan, and I hope you can understand this. But you're going into year 12, so you are still in your teens. What sort of advice would you give to younger people that are getting into pinball, and how they would find joy out of getting into pinball? And I say that because you have been incredibly refreshing coming into the pinball community, because you are mature but beyond your years, and you have integrated really well into the community. But we need to get younger people into the pinball scene. How do we do this?
Oh man,
he doesn't have the answer. He can't even get his best friends into pinball.
I know. I think it's really difficult to explain. Like for me personally, I got into pinball because I found it interesting. Like I found it more intriguing than a video game, because the whole 3D world under a glass effect really appealed to me. And I think that if someone, like a young person in general, or anyone, is interested in pinball, they should just keep at it, and you should try to get to know people that are involved within the pinball community, because they can really open your eyes and tell you things you had no idea about when it comes to pinball, and really branch out your knowledge quite a fair bit. That's the thing. Like before I even got into any competitive stuff, or I just barely even researched stuff online, when I was playing, I didn't know much about it. I just played for fun. That's all it was. And then when I started meeting you guys, like in the pinball community, you guys told me stuff about pinball that I'd never even knew about. Like there's different designers for games. There's actual like big rules in games. I didn't know that sort of stuff. And it's
you can log in on Pinside and complain about pinballs all day long.
Yeah, you can do that. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is, if you're getting into it now, just try and find other people who are also into it, and try and get your mates into it if you can, because the more people that are into it, the better.
Would your mates be interested? Like, do you think something like a gimmick, like, a free entry, but you can win $200 or something? Like, would that get your mates involved, or is it literally just they think it's, I don't know, lame because it's not Minecraft or something?
No, they don't think it's lame at all. I don't think or at least I don't think so. But yeah, I don't think there's any motivation to go out and play them. That's one of the issues with pinball in the modern day. We've got consoles at home, and we barely have to get off the couch, and we can be playing video games in our home. Whereas with pinball, most people have to go out on site or go somewhere to go play a game, and that can be a pain sometimes because of time constraints or other things. But when you go out and play, you enjoy yourself. That's the thing.
I reckon head-to-head battles on the pinball arcade, side by sides. That's what's going to draw people in.
Yeah. Yeah,
make it happen,
the exposure. Yeah.
Awesome. And so is there any particular title or machine that you're looking forward to in 2018?
Well, it comes down to the rumors and stuff that's coming out, but I'm really looking forward to
titles like TNA, right? Like,
yeah,
have you played that?
No, I haven't played TNA. I haven't played Guardians yet. But I'm really looking forward to the next Jersey Jack game that comes out. I love the direction they're taking when it comes to pinball. I'm also really looking forward to playing Houdini. Houdini's another game that I've taken heaps of interest in recently.
Yeah, that does not surprise me, because one thing I've known about just watching lots of videos of Houdini is it's quite precise. You really need to pick your shots and go for them, and that would suit your gameplay.
Yeah, but that too. But I really like the unique layout as well of the game. It really, really draws me in. So, and there's magnets. Magnets are awesome.
You got to play Pirates as well at the JJP event. What were I think you had the highest score of the day. What were your impressions of that?
I think Pirates is a fantastic game. It's like the software was only it was nowhere near complete when we played it, and there was so much to do in it already. The layout is fantastic. The whole ship toy up the top is really good, and it doesn't really sit up there for too long, so you don't feel like you're waiting at all. The spinning disc keeps you on your toes all the time.
It's pretty brutal, isn't it?
Yeah, it spins it really fast, like straight down the guts sometimes. You're not even expecting it.
Yeah, we'll see. That was early code and early hardware, so someone's going to have to buy it and invite us over, because we were talking about before you came on, Jordan, that there aren't really many dialed-ins on site, and parts cost even more, so we don't know if we're going to be able to play it on site. We'll see.
Well, good stuff. Well, thank you very much for coming on, and it was a really good introduction to 2018, Jordan. Hopefully we get to see you dominate this year again, but certainly 2017 has been a great year for you.
Yeah, thanks. 2017's been fantastic. Each year pinball's growing bigger and better, and I've loved watching it grow. It's fantastic to see heaps of new people get involved, and I think it's going in a really good direction. Thanks again for having me, guys. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, Jordan.
All right, cheers, guys.
Thanks, mate.
See you later.
So there you go. That was Jordan Treadaway in his second podcast episode. He was actually on Pinball Profile with Jeff Teolis, who was there at Papa when Jordan won B Division. So always great to talk to Jordan, and as I said it before, he is mature but beyond his years. He's just a great guy, and
he's the guy who will tell you how to beat him, but you still won't be able to do it. He'll tell you, if I sat there and said, okay, so that Star Wars strategy, please detail it, to me right now. He would do it, but you still won't be able to beat him on it because you won't be able to hit the shots the way he does. So,
no, that's exactly right.
He's a nice
comes
guy.
down to rules knowledge versus skill, and he has got both in spades.
Yeah, like I said, I can't wait to, for him to go traveling around, because we have been hyping him up, and I'd like to see him go take on the big wigs in, A divisions and stuff around the world. So
well, that's why when we spoke at, a year ago, almost a year ago today, when we were at the Jersey Jack dinner, where I didn't meet you, but you were there, we were sort of sitting outside, and I said, do you know what, Jordan? You need to go and compete on the world scene. Let's go to a world tournament, and that's when we decided to go to Papa.
Okay. Yeah, I did see you there. You're the drunk guy kissing Jersey Jack. And
I didn't drink that night.
This guy?
I didn't drink that night, but I did kiss Jersey Jack. Well, in actual fact, he kissed me.
Well, no, you kissed him. Oh, wait a second.
Well, no, I did kiss him.
It was
all I'm saying.
You kissed him, and then he kissed you at the year later.
Yeah, that's right. All I'm saying is it was quite mutual.
This week in pinball.
What's
bit of a quiet week this week in pinball, Marty?
Quite the opposite. We have had a massive week in pinball. In particular, you did your first tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I ran a quick tournament at my house about a year ago, but it wasn't an IFPA sanctioned one, and there was hardly anyone there that kind of played in tournaments, so it was just a three strikes tournament. But this was the real deal, and 2 IFPA tournaments at my house. We had a Flip Frenzy and Australia's first Heads Up tournament, and it's not like you can just kind of run these things in one day. prepare it in one day. You have to submit at least a month in advance, and I submitted on the exact date I needed to, the shortest amount of time to get approved, and then you have to get all the machines ready. Being the Heads Up tournament, I had to get help from you because you had 2 machines that I have, and I had to go pick them up and move them around. And I know this is something that people do all the time. People say, oh my gosh, moving around pins, like, big deal. I do it every day. I'm not very big. Marty, you aren't either. We're not bodybuilders. So it's quite hard to move machines around. And, geez, it started raining. I got a ute. Like a ute is like a pickup truck for those people listening in America. And it was like a tray, like an open tray. So I could fit 2 machines on there. And it started pissing down rain on the way home. And it was a hot day. It was like, almost 30 degrees, I think, that day. And it's being Melbourne, it started to rain unexpectedly. And luckily, it stopped pretty quickly and we got home without any damage to the machines. So
the main thing I want to know, and of course, as per usual, Ryan has not told me anything. He said, let's wait till the podcast. The one thing I've wanted to know, because before this tournament was being run, I kept saying to you, you know what, don't underestimate what it takes to run a tournament. And this is your first official IFPA event as a tournament director. How was it for you?
I mean, the only thing that I didn't like is that I didn't realize how much of my time during the event it would take. I knew the Flip Frenzy was going to be chaotic, and it was probably a little bit more chaotic than I thought because of the way we had machines set up. There was like a big crowd around my desk, and every time my wife walked up to me, I kind of like answered her questions and talked to her. And then when I saw people coming through to submit their results, I kind of like moved her to the side, and she got upset with me after. She was like, why were you being so rude? It's like, it's in the middle of a tournament. Like I am the data entry. So, but yeah, during the Heads Up tournament, I totally underestimated how many people I kind of needed to help run it, because you got multiple games going on. You need people time, people looking at the screen. I need to play. You need to play. Cameras, this and that. I thought I could kind of like socialize with all the other people that were there for the normal meet during that time. But I didn't get to. I had people that kind of drove like, hours to come and see me and see the collection. And I didn't get to say more than hello and goodbye to them.
So what I'm hearing is Martin was right.
No, because no. The way you described it was that it was going to be stressful, and
you actually ran an incredibly good tournament, and everybody commented on, in particular, the Flip Frenzy, on how well you ran that tournament.
Well, we're kind of lucky because a couple of machines were going down. We had Aaron helping fix. Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks, people.
Yeah, well, he if he didn't offer, I would have stupidly tried to run the thing by myself, and then stuck balls, this and that. You can't do it with Flip Frenzy. You definitely need 2 people running it. But we had about, I think, 4 or 5 people drop out like on the day from being sick or crook back. Something came up, which is kind of good because it gave me that buffer when machines went down. It didn't affect the the queuing system for Flip Frenzy, because it went for 3.5 hours, and there were 400, and this is 38 people, 410 games played, a double game. So that means 820 single player games were played in 3.5 hours across 18 machines. Some went down, so about 15 or 16 at any one time. That's a lot of games, and I was required to put all of those, like the winner and the loser and the game, for each of those 410 games. So I didn't have more than 20, 30 seconds break in between data entry, to get a drink or I didn't take a piss the entire time. It is full on. It is very hard to run, but the cool thing is the people that were playing this format for the first time, they didn't kind of quite understand it. I remember someone who was playing for the first time won his first 5 games in a row, and then he lost. And he's like, "Is that it? Am I out?" And I'm like, "No, no one's out. You keep on playing for the entire 3.5 hours. So a lot of people enjoyed it. I think some of the people, I might have, you can't please everyone. With every tournament, someone has to come first and someone has to come last. I mean, there were 2 or 3 people that kind of were playing for the first time and finish in the bottom 5, and I think that kind of might have bruised their egos a little bit, because you always, when you don't play in competitions, you probably don't remember this far back, Marty, but you always think, I think you're better than you are because you play at home, you put up a grand champion. It's not about putting up a grand champion once. It's about doing it in a competition setting consistently. So, one guy did do very well. Nick, who was playing his very first tournament, came second. He almost came first, but he won the exact same amount of games as the person who came first. He just managed to have a couple more losses, and he was super happy. And I hope he comes to more tournaments, and I hope through all of this, because competition guys are always going to be into competitions, but it's about growing the hobby, and I chose the 2 most fun, what I thought, and unconventional tournament styles. There's no way I was going to run a heads up. Sorry, not a heads up, like a match play, and just have people waiting for rounds to finish. And that would, I think, that might be good for someone that's really into tournaments after, a couple of tournaments. But can you imagine kind of that being your first kind of introduction to pinball?
No, exactly right. And you did choose the most accessible formats. And so for those people that are listening for the first time, it was a Flip Frenzy, and that is a tournament where you play. We played for 3.5 hours, and effectively it's a win-loss ratio, so you're playing as quick as you can to get as many wins, and then if there's a tie, it then comes to how many losses you've had as well.
Yeah, and someone was when I was talking to Andreas, who runs Match Play, and asking him if he could add that format in, he kind of mentioned that he's played it once or twice, and the complaints that he gets sometimes is that the top players don't think it's fair because certain individuals can play more games than you. So you might be the best player, but you might not finish first. Well, the person who was ranked seeded number 1, Richard Rhodes, ended up winning the whole thing. So, what does that say, I guess? If you play long enough, the cream always rises to the top, but you do have a couple of surprises here and there, and people that go on streaks against players that aren't, as highly seeded. But overall, 38 people, I think, almost everyone had a really fun time, and I was spent by the end of it. I was just absolutely,
you were knackered.
Yeah, it is very taxing. I was thinking though, I mean, if you had the right software, since you have 2 people there, as long as they don't stuff it up, you could have them entering in. Is that what they do at Netherworld? Do the people that finish the game enter in the data themselves, or is it still no?
There is still someone that's entering it, but because the software announces the machine and where people need to go, it's a lot less taxing on the tournament director.
Yeah. When I saw Luke's spreadsheet, I freaked out a little bit because it's kind of like a homebrew kind of effort, but I was totally wrong. I mean, it works perfectly.
It really does.
Yeah, and we got emailed. Jason Lapping emailed through a spreadsheet for us to use, and it was a lot more kind of pretty, and it looked kind of a bit more user friendly. It came with like an 8-page guide, but by the time he kind of emailed it through, I'd already figured out how to use Luke's one. So thanks for that, Jason. But yeah, so the guy who created that spreadsheet that I was using was there, so I felt a bit more confident with that. And
yeah.
Particularly
running your first tournament, you've got to be comfortable with the software that you're using.
Yeah, and I talked about it wasn't that stressful for me. That's probably because I had the head of the representative for IFPA in Australia and the co-representative Dan Rober. Like they were all there, and you were there. I mean, if anything, and there were a couple of things that I kind of stuffed up to begin with like the order of things and who's on whose machine. And within 5 minutes, it was sorted out. But if you guys weren't there, then that's probably when I would have got stressed. But
that's the whole thing with normal tournaments. You've got the time required because you're waiting for the next round to be able to fix it. With a Flip Frenzy, because it's all time based, you've got to fix every query immediately.
Yep. And it has to. I joked about it. Like you almost need that Super Nazi style thing where someone walks up to the counter, see which, 2 beats 13 and then leave, because a lot of people kind of walked up and like, oh yeah, I had a really good game. I'm like, I don't care. I just need to know what game you played. And like, don't tell me numbers first. So I tried to kind of drill that into people, but because I didn't announce that at the start, because I kind of, had never run it before, and it's people just finish a game of pinball. They're excited. Their adrenaline was pumping. You can't expect everyone to kind of give you that super Nazi style, response. But yeah, people learned. It was good.
It was a fun format. I was sort of at the top for quite some time, and then towards the end, probably about the last hour, I had a couple of really bad games, so I ended up 5th.
You lost against someone who came last, I think.
Yeah, probably.
That was a shocker.
I had some very close games, but you know what? I had a great game. That was my second time I've ever competed in a Flip Frenzy. I love the format. I think it's very social. It's very fast, but it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
I mean, at one point I screamed over you two because you were playing someone at Wizard of Oz, and you're on your third ball. He was still yet to play his third ball, but he was on like 5,000 and you were on like 500,000 or something. And I just screamed over and I said, Marty, you're wasting your time. And you're like, oh. And you like kind of snapped out of it, and you like purposely drained your ball. And then the guy played for like 20 seconds and it was over. And do you know what I mean? Like you might have wasted 10 minutes there, right?
I was about to kill the witch, and I just thought, yeah.
That's right.
At that stage, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to win this thing. How about I just have a bit of fun and demean the person I'm competing against by...
Who was a little kid. Wasn't that a kid? Wasn't that the only kid there?
Yeah, probably. They were like 10 years old. But you know what? A win's a win.
Yeah. No, well, you came equal 5th, which is a good result. And, Richard Rhodes, as I said before, won the machine. He won the tournament. He had 19 games and only 2 losses. So if you take your time and don't lose games, you will win. The person who came second had 19 wins and 6 losses. So he burnt through games quicker. But because he had those losses, it kind of came back to bite him. So that was Flip Frenzy.
And then you also then ran Australia's first heads-up tournament.
Yeah, and as I said, I couldn't have done it without you because, two similar machines are required for that. And in the middle of the week, I came to pick up The Hobbit and Star Trek LE. And before I did that, we fixed your...
Wizard of Oz, you mean?
Sorry, yes. Wizard of Oz and Star Trek LE. But we fixed your Hobbit flaps while we're at it.
Flaps are now flush.
Yes. Yeah. Can you tell the difference between a dirty flap and a flush flap?
Yeah, absolutely. And the main difference is hitting the ramps on Hobbit now don't require as much effort. Before, it had to be absolutely a clean shot with as much power from the flippers as possible to be able to get up the ramps. Now it's a lot easier because they can get up quicker.
Yeah. I'll say it before and I say it again, like millimeters matter in pinball. It makes such a big difference because those flaps bending up sucks momentum out of the ball, changes the direction, the shot isn't as clean, and having the flaps perfectly flush, which, hey, they should have done it to begin with, but I think they just like black flaps don't look as good as the shiny flaps using the spring steel, so they went for the more aesthetic look, and then they switched a couple of months later, but we got the first batch, so...
Yeah,
flaps.
You'll actually see, we'll have in the show notes pictures of my flaps and just how much of a gap between my flaps there were.
Oh, no. You idiot.
But you'll see. But I've got to say, thank you so much to Ryan for coming over and doing it. And what was really funny is that he said, it's only going to take half an hour. I've learned from the first time. How long did it take, Ryan?
I don't know.
2 hours.
2 hours? Fucking hell. I told you I repress everything bad from my memory. I repress. That's how I live my day. So I remember as soon as I started doing it, I was like, oh yeah, I remember. Like I have to take up like both habit trails out. You have to disconnect things from the back, take away the pillars. It's a pain in the ass. And then we didn't have a rivet gun, so we had to sit there
and use a hammer.
You smash it with a hammer, and that just took forever while drunk people from the MCG wandered through, and oh gosh.
It was lots of fun though.
It was done.
The short of it is that I now have my Hobbit working so much better than it ever has. But as I said, we'll show you pictures of before and after in the show notes.
And it also has mirror blades now as well.
It has mirror blades, so thank you very much for that. Which turns out that they're much easier to put on than I thought.
Yeah, I don't know why you waited, 7 months or something, however long it's been.
Well, because the last mirror blades I put on were my roller games, and roller games was a hinge system, so you actually had to remove the playfield to be able to...
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's right. I remember he said, do we have to remove the entire playfield? And I was like, no. What are you talking about?
No, well, I had to for roller games because it's a hinge system.
Yeah. All right.
So let's talk about the Heads Up tournament. So this was Australia's first Heads Up tournament where we had two Wizard of Oz next to each other, and I think mine was number 62 and yours was 65.
That's right. They're almost brothers and sisters.
Correct. And our Star Trek Limited Edition side by side. How did the setup go?
Are you talking about the camera setup or the? Oh wow. Okay, so that night was it a? What night was it? Was it a Wednesday night?
We spent 2 nights trying to set up the audio visual equipment because this was... You got to understand is that I stream one machine. So I've got an overhead cam, a cam that's on the score screen, and then a player cam. This one was different because we actually had to have 4 machines plus 4 score screens plus a player cam, and I didn't necessarily want to go out there and buy too much more equipment, so we had to make do with what we've got, and we spent 2 nights, and all up I reckon probably 12 hours trying to get this AV equipment working.
Yeah, they weren't 2 nights, 6 to 8 p.m. I mean, you were at my house till 1 a.m, and my wife was texting me like, what the fuck are you still doing in the garage? Marty's saying we, but I just sat there mucking around trying to...
You were there for
garage,
moral support.
My garage is not the place for pinball, so it was... The concrete is totally warped, water damaged. So to level these machines, I was going over to the construction site across the road, breaking bricks that they kind of were chucking out, and kind of putting them up, on the back legs to just get things level. Yeah, Marty did everything, and stuff wasn't working because you had so many USB things plugged into your computer. When you changed one thing, something would break.
I know. I remember on the second night, I said, oh my God, we've got everything working. And then you unplugged something, and then we were fucked for a good hour or so.
Well, okay, let me just explain this to the viewers. Marty had a room cam, and it was pointing at 1.5 machines, and I was like, well, you need to get all 4 machines, so let's just mount it on the roof. And all these things were tangled, so I just kind of unplugged it to make it easy to tangle, and it just fucked everything up. It just took about 2 hours after that to get everything to work.
It was hilarious. But the good news is that we finally got the AV to work, except for one camera which kept freezing. But let's talk about the tournament. The Heads Up tournament is absolutely the best new tournament in recent history. I loved it. What about you?
Yeah, it's exciting. As I've mentioned before, I don't like waiting. Even when I'm playing a 2-person game, I said I just have to sit there and hate the person and say drain in my head. When you're playing head to head, there's no delay. It's a race. It's like ping golf, except at the same time as someone else. And sometimes you can look over and see, and you can get nervous or excited depending on how far that person's progressed. In comparison to you. Sometimes you just don't know, and it's kind of a surprise if they win or if you win. And it was a 16-person tournament. We probably could have had 32 people, but we didn't want, we didn't have enough machines. We didn't want it going too long. We didn't know how long it was going to go for. It ended up running pretty quick. I mean, I think we were all done in 2.5 hours, and we were mucking around heaps, and there was a big delay between rounds just to, because people were just mucking around having a good time. Yeah, I kind of set it in a way pretty hard for myself. I was up against Stu Thornton first, and lucky it was on Wizard of Oz, I think. So I think if I was on Star Trek for any of these games, I would have lost. I managed to beat him, and then in the bracket of 8, I beat Eddie, who's former Australian number 1. And then in the semi-final,
yes,
I played against Richard Rhodes, and it was a coin toss if we're going to play on Star Trek and Wizard of Oz, and I was very lucky that I was on Wizard of Oz, and I won the first round, and then I chose for the second round Rescue Multi-Ball, and he absolutely demolished me. I just couldn't get Rescue Multi-Ball happening. So then on the third round, he chose the same objective. He's like, I've just beaten him by a lot. I'll do the same thing again. And wow, it was really close because I had Rescue Multi-Ball ready. I managed to get the targets up, and I had everything ready to go. And Multi-Ball was ready. I went to bash down the door, and I mistimed the shot, and I hit search. And if you're unfamiliar with Wizard of Oz, if you hit search instead of bashing down the door, it resets your lock. It virtually locks the ball, and it means that you then have to spell rescue again. And I couldn't even do it on the same go. Like, the ball drained, which allowed Richard to catch up, and then we both had the ball up there at the same time. I hit the shot, fist pumped, and then someone screamed out, "It's a draw," because he did it pretty much the exact same time. And then a bunch of people said, "No, look at the animations. Ryan got it like 0.2 of a second before Richard."
It was so close, and definitely the highlight of the whole tournament.
Yeah, I mean, I was only watching half the game, so I didn't see any other game that was kind of remotely as close. But I mean, all of them, all the objectives are fun to watch because you can see kind of people creeping up, and even the 2 or 4 minute drills, they were awesome because how many times do you see people trying to rack up as many points as they can in 2 minutes and then hands off the flippers? Lots of strategy involved in that one as well.
So you got
how did you go, mate?
Finals.
Yes.
So who were you in the finals against?
You idiot. Well, I was meant to say, how did you go, Marty? How was your journey to the finals?
I look, this is going to sound a bit conceited, but I pretty much sailed through. The first round I can't even remember. The second round, barely remember. Third round, I might have played somebody, I can't remember.
Oh, gosh.
Actually, no, I remember the third round I was against Michael Kirst. So Kirst from Aussie Arcade. Hello, Michael. And in his first tournament, so it was really good to see him there. And he chose Kaiboshi Maru because in the final 4, we got to choose the advanced objectives, and he chose Kaiboshi Maru. And I remember at the time he said, "I'm just doing this just so I can get to play a lot of this game." And I got Kaiboshi Maru, so I was very lucky to get that. And then I managed to get into the finals. So 2 people in the finals, and it was me versus who?
Versus me. So I'm looking at the score sheet now. During my finals, I won 2-1, 2-1, 2-1. So it was a tiebreaker. Like, I got down to the final match on all 3 groups for me. You won 2-0, 2-0, 2-0. So you did sail through.
I did have a controversial result, though, where Wizard of Oz decided to play up a little bit, and so I actually had to replay one of my games, but I still got through.
Yeah, someone said that when he hit a shot, something happened and it ended a ball. I didn't see it, but 2 people saw it and kind of verified the story. So after you won, we decided to play it again just to be as fair as possible, but you beat him again anyway. So the final it was a coin toss again. It was on Star Trek. I reckon it would have been a lot closer if it was on Wizard of Oz.
Oh, for sure. I was so hoping for Star Trek.
I haven't played Star Trek since I put the color DMD in, which is 2 months ago or something. I've played about 5 games, and all of my games were on Wizard of Oz leading up to it. First up, what was the first objective? Get a gold medal, and you absolutely smashed it. I wasn't even close. The second one was a super jackpot in Klingon Multi-Ball, and I nearly messed it up because I got into Multi-Ball super quick. And then I was so excited. I was like, okay, I've got this one, that I drained all my balls by only getting like 2 or 3 jackpots. And after the ball drained, there's like maybe a 2-second grace period where you can hit the black hole to add a ball. I wasn't even going for it. I just kind of flailed a shot, and it managed to hit the black hole and add a ball back. Added 2 balls.
I remember playing, and you're supposed to be focusing on your own game. I remember hearing that, you getting that add a ball.
Well, this is the weird thing. Everyone was very kind of quiet, and they get their objective, and they were like, "Yep, I got it." I was like squirming like a little, like, I don't know. I was like, yes, come on, yes, one more hit, one more shot. I was like egging myself on, because to me, this is like 10 times more exciting than any other tournament I've played, because it's a race against the time, and even if you do everything perfectly, someone could do it faster than you, and to me, that's so much more exciting than putting up a score than watching someone else try and beat it. Like that's anxiety to me. Doing it at the same time is more fun. So I managed to get the super jackpot in Kobayashi Maru before you. In Klingon Multiball, and then you got to choose the last objective.
But that's just before we
go on to the... don't. Okay, during let me bring it up. Let me say, okay, during Flip Frenzy, I took the rubbers off certain machines that were playing too long, Lord of the Rings, Star Trek. During that break between the tournaments, it was my responsibility to put everything back to normal. Because I was so busy, people were arriving, my wife saying, say goodnight to your kids, all this kind of stuff.
Yes.
I put the rubbers on one machine, but not the other. So when I beat Martin, he said, "What the hell?" Like, because he saw a ball drain. And you're like, my things have no rubbers. My things have no rubbers.
So, just so everyone understands.
Oh, gosh.
In this heads-up tournament where these machines are meant to be as close to exact as possible, his machine had rubbers on the outlane. Mine didn't.
Yes. Bit of a fail there.
And I thought to myself, surely we're going to play this game again. But no, because Ryan is the tournament director.
You weren't serious about that. Of course I was. Well, then we would have played all the games together, even if you won the first one, sure. Right?
But then,
I don't know how tournament directing works. What are you meant to?
No, but then someone called out, "Well, what about the previous games?" And we went, "Oh shit, let's avoid that. Let's move forward.
Let's not start the entire tournament again."
Exactly.
I haven't watched the replay. I'm not sure how many extra outlane drains there were, but a lesson for next time. The last objective you chose was Kobayashi Maru, and I was so excited that it was 1-1 that I totally didn't think through any strategy. I just said, I have to be more accurate than Marty on Star Trek, which is almost impossible because I know how you can hit the under the scoop, under the flipper shot very easily. So I got nervous, and all of a sudden I was only 3 or 4 modes in and on ball 5. And then I drained, and I had 5 minutes to catch up because we were on a 10-minute time limit for each game. We imposed that. I don't think they do that in the Vegas game, but in the Vegas tournament. But we thought, we can't have people here for half an hour on an objective. So I was at your mercy because there's absolutely no way I think you can finish Kobayashi Maru in 5 minutes. Like even Stephen Bowden, it was 7.5 minutes or so. So you were pretty calm in your approach, and you managed to do it in 9 minutes and 10 seconds.
I know. I had 50 seconds to go. What was really funny was that the commentators, Stu and Stacey, and I encourage you, not just because I want people to watch the Melbourne Silverboard League, but that last game, the commentating by Stacey Borg and Stu Thornton was absolutely hilarious. And because they were right behind us, I heard them commentating my game.
And I know you don't like that, Marty, but
it was hilarious.
I was out of the game, so I managed to do better when I was out of the game, kind of thing. I managed to progress through, I think, 4.5 modes, in half the time. So I was doing all right, but it was, as I said, it was all at your mercy, and you took home the prize, the cash, and the woman. I realized after, this is not why I didn't win or anything. I didn't win because you were better than me, but that's the 3rd time I've finished second in the last couple of months. I'm never going to win a tournament.
Look, I was very lucky. I will say lucky in that we got to pick our machine. So you've got a Star Trek Limited Edition. I've got a Star Trek Limited Edition. We were both playing on our own machines. I've played my machine a lot. I've streamed a lot. I know how it feels. So we were lucky that we got to play our own machines.
Yeah, bit of an advantage, but I mean, we're the ones running the tournament, so I can't borrow two machines off AMD or something for the weekend. It's not how it works here. So
I understand. And also, we'd spent 2 nights playing these objectives to try and to see if they are fun. So we sort of really honed our strategy. So basically, what I'm saying is, any other person in the tournament, they were fucked before they started. We had such an advantage.
How drunk are you now, Marty, on a scale of 0 to 10?
I don't know. I'm hiccuping. I am just completely, absolutely gone.
Yeah. Well, I think I was explaining to Jordan before off air. I mean, I probably practiced a little bit more than you, but it was more to just get the angles right in the stream. And the only one that I tried maybe 10 times is the 2-minute drill, because I tried a 2-minute drill on Star Trek, and it was harder than it looks, like what's the best way? What's the best mode? And should you bring in multi-ball? Should you concentrate on mode? Should you drain on purpose? You can get that end of ball of bonus right before the time is up. There's a lot of kind of strategy involved in that one, and that's almost the hardest one for me, I think, because there's more variables there than just kind of hitting the shots you need.
Absolutely agreed. And we, as I said, we sort of tried these objectives for the 2 nights before, just to see how they'd play out. We had so much fun, and what we realised is that it completely changes the way that you play pinball, because there is it's not like a fixed timer where you've got 3 minutes. I'm hiccuping. I understand, but it's more so that you are watching over the other person to check out the pace at which they're going. So you're constantly looking to see how far advanced they are. That just changes the game completely.
Yeah, and so if it wasn't my machine, I'd probably be a lot more nervous than I was. But because they were my machines, it was exciting. But I was never too nervous. But anyway, a couple of thanks to people. Big shout out to my wife, obviously, who let the tournament go through. Nima was here helping move machines in the garage and move machines around a couple of days before. People that came from interstate, there were I think 5 people that came from interstate, which means a lot to me, because obviously I appreciate everyone coming, but for someone to jump on a plane and pay for a hotel and just for my kind of little tournament at my house, Chris, Andrew, Stu, Eddie and Dan, those guys drove down. Some of them flew. Eddie helped me fix a couple of machines on the night after the tournament. Flip Frenzy doesn't really allow you to fix machines unless you have a lot of room during the tournament. Who else? But Luke helped out with the tournament and donated all his Flip Frenzy magnets and his spreadsheet. Awesome. Nino from Ride the Bony Beasts, rtbb.com. Is it .com.au? He opened up on Boxing Day so I can get some parts to fix some last minute issues machine.
Really?
Even though I totally ordered the wrong parts off him. Stu and Stacey, of course, for help with the Heads Up tournament, and Luke adjudicating. Aaron, massive thanks to Aaron, who without me asking, he helped me. Without him, I would have been stuffed running the Flip Frenzy. He got all the pizzas for everyone and donating his roadshow as well, which ended up breaking down, but it was just due to some dirty optos. And of course, you, Marty, for donating 2 of the machines and spending over 10 hours organising the stream. Because hey, if you don't stream it, did it actually happen? Can you imagine if we didn't get that Richard, me and Richard moment on tape?
No, exactly right. And all I've been thinking about since that event. And I've also been watching the Heads Up tournaments from Vegas and also the recent Guardians of the Galaxy launch party that Carl D'Angelo, who is an amazing person, just FYI, I've just been thinking about how I can improve the stream for next time. So hopefully we will. And I'm trying to convince... More hexagons. And I'm trying to convince Ryan now to do this Heads Up tournament tournament every quarter?
I don't know. That's it. It's running something smaller is okay, but it's the whole moving machines. I mean, I know you can get things that help to move machines like Escalaras, and Escalaras are super expensive. But my house isn't really set up. There's no ramp. There's no elevator. You can use a pinball trolley, but there's 5 steps before you get to the house. And it's not one single group of 5 steps. It's 5 individual steps. So having a pin trolley is pointless. My back is absolutely buggered. And,
I know, you told me.
It's the wrong time to ask me if I want to do it again. I'll run another tournament at my house, but just moving stuff into the garage and leveling those stupid pins in the garage is just not something I'm looking forward to doing again.
Well, all I can say is so RGR, who Richard Rhodes, who won the Flip Frenzy, and I think he came third.
Yeah, he ended up winning the qualifying.
His quote was on Aussie Arcade, "Heads Up comp is probably my favourite comp of all time. Super fun." So that should be enough to inspire you to want to do this every quarter. And I would give you my machines every quarter to run this comp. I think right now, I'm going to say.
So drunk.
I'm going to say, I can't stop these hiccups. I'm going to say that Heads Up is my favourite tournament format of all time.
Cool. Yeah, well, we're discussing it off air as before. We talked a lot off air before we started, and you probably were drinking a bit too much, which has resulted in these hiccups. Is it possible? Is there a format, or can you do a fake Heads Up where you play on a machine and get to an objective as quick as you can, timed, and then there's a big clock for the second person, and then you kind of just alternate that. So what one person is setting the time, the other person is chasing. Is that like a valid fake Heads Up format?
Yeah, I mean, look, one thing to note about this Heads Up format is right now it's worth fuck all TGP, so you don't actually get many Whopper points for it.
It's for funsies. It's for fun.
It's for funsies, and hopefully, as we mentioned before, that there is going to be a Heads Up tournament in March, and maybe they will boost the TGP. That this is the tournament points that it's worth based on this format. I hope so.
It's worth I think 22% of the total TGP thingy. So not many Whopper points. I guess maybe that's why in the US they're giving away $6,000 pinball machines as a prize. How much did you win, Marty?
I won $80, but that wasn't the point. I won, and you will see this in the show notes when we link this this movie. I won your wife.
She does like a winner, and I wasn't a winner that night.
She does. So,
and you won that cool trophy. I mean,
the trophy was actually the best bit. We've got to admit, I love that trophy.
Yeah. Big thanks again to Ulick Store, who it's an awesome pinball trophy. It lights up, and I emailed him, and he sent it out within I think 48 hours, I think it was, and it was here a week and a half later. So lifesaver for me being unorganized, and I won one. I won the second place, and Richard won the third place one. And he loved it as well. So I'd like it to not be such a brutal, for the people that kind of got knocked out first round. I wish there was a way that it wasn't, people could play a bit more games for fun, and then there's a top 8 or something, and then it goes to knockout. Because I felt a little bit sorry for people that it could have been me that got knocked out first round playing against you. It was very close.
I won, so I couldn't give a shit.
You're a lot more brutal when you're drunk, Marty. What do you think of John Popadiuk, Marty?
I've said before, I want him to do good.
Yeah.
But right now, he's a fuckwit.
Are we?
Are we editing that?
No. Are we finishing up? Or are we doing the 2007? You can do the 2007 highlights.
Okay.
Drunk.
Okay, here we go. You ready? So, what I decided to do was to talk about all the things that we've talked about in 2017, mainly because we've actually only been doing this podcast since July 25. It's New Year, guys. I'm allowed to drink. Anyway,
I just don't know how you're going to edit this thing drunk.
I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to edit this. Anyway, all I want to talk about, and I haven't even talked about all the things that we've talked about. Let's just go through some of the things that we've talked about in the last 6 months since we started this podcast. So, we got introduced to the Pinball Party Bus, and Mick and Dion from the Pinball Party Bus were at your event on the weekend. That was awesome.
Yeah, they were there, loving it.
We also got introduced to your daughter, V, who became a celebrity, and then she went into hiding. We haven't heard from her since.
She's saving up the nugget. It's funny, the last time we heard from her, I think I was talking about Sea Witch and how awesome it is. I was fixing up Sea Witch before the tournament, and I said, "Do you want to play Sea Witch?" She's like, "No, it's boring." I said, "What's boring about it? You haven't played it in ages," and this and that. And she's like, "There's not much stuff on there, Dad. Okay, I like pinball machines. There's lots of stuff on there." I'm like, "Wow!" Like the opposite of what you said when you first played. Like, "Wow, it's so cool. I can see the ball at all times." Anyway, just fickle. She's fickle on the Sea Witch.
So early on, we talked about my flaps, and we can say 6 months later, my flaps are now flush.
Yes.
We also had a cease and desist from Slam Tilt Podcast because apparently we were copying their format.
We can copy whatever we want now because George Takei can't sue us now. He's in legal trouble himself.
Exactly. Ryan was in on a Star Wars limited edition, but cancelled. Are you glad that you cancelled?
I am glad that I cancelled.
Good. We also saw photos of the fucking hell, I'm drunk. The Thunderwords. I'm hoping people that are listening to this are finding this as enjoyable as I am. We saw the Thunderbirds pinball before anybody else. How did that go for us?
It was awesome. Well, we got to interview Mike, and I really kind of enjoyed that interview, as controversial as it was with all the stuff that he said about updates. It was good. I enjoyed being in the home pin inner circle of trust.
Yeah, cool. Zach Sharp joined Stern, which was interesting. I've got here as a note that Ryan bought lots of pinballs this year, but in the last couple of months, you haven't really bought a lot of pinball machines, have you?
I told you, I'm done.
You're done.
Yeah, I'm really happy with my collection. I'd like to get it down, but I'm too in love with pinball. The amount of people that during the comp was like, dibs on your Sea Witch, dibs on this. I'm like, no. You're like fifth in line on Sea Witch. Someone asked for dibs on my Doctor Who, but I like that game too much. So
yeah, no, fair enough. And I played that on the weekend. It plays really, really well.
Yeah, it's Eddie's old machine. It plays nice.
Great. John Trudeau, which you call Trudeau. He got arrested for being kitty fiddler. We also
I shouldn't be laughing at that, but yeah. Allegedly,
we got to say.
Yeah, buddy. Jesus Christ.
We also had the pinball strip club controversy.
Oh, gosh.
I went to a pinball club where they stripped down the pinball machine, and we got a lot of people that weren't happy about that.
People got a bit butthurt because the word strip club and the logo, and it wasn't even advertised. It was one of those things where you get upset over the headline rather than the actual content of the article. But
what was interesting is that that was early on in our podcast journey, so we've kind of learned a lot, and we will avoid that kind of stuff in the future.
Really? Okay.
No, we won't. Fuck us all.
You just called John Trudeau.
John Popadiuk resurfaced as Deep Root, so we covered that. That was hilarious. That gave us at least half an hour of podcast content.
Yes.
I've said here Rob Zombie code updates.
I don't know how to include that.
I know, and I know a lot of people still don't really like Rob Zombie the pinball machine. Oh, I love it. I think it's a fun game.
Buy it then.
Stern decided to release pinball machines in Brazil.
Yes.
I couldn't give a shit about that, really. We had our first giveaway. So we talked about the spooky pinball movie, things that go bump in the night. I really encourage you, go to can't even remember the name of the
Things that go bump in the night.com, isn't it? No?
Yeah, no, things that go bump in the night, but what streaming service is it on?
Vimeo.
Thank you very much. Go and watch it. It's a great movie. I really enjoyed watching that. Ryan sold a pinball machine had something to do with a key.
Oh gosh, yeah, that's the one I forgot about. I totally forgot about that.
We spent too much time on this podcast talking about this.
I know. When I look at it now, I'm like, why did I care so much? But I was so angry.
No one gave a shit about it. Apparently, I vomited after a stream. Pizza and Pinball closed in Newcastle. Steve Ritchie released some sort of comment that he was talking about doing an original theme, which then broke the internet. Ryan went to the Rosstown Retro Comp and came second. The Alice Cooper art was revealed. We played Attack from Mars remake, and then we just decided that the flippers were all wrong, and then we did a whole podcast on it, and then we were embarrassed because we were completely wrong, but it was lots of fun.
Yes.
Aussie Arcade became toxic for a while, a lot like Pinside.
Yeah, it's Canada's fault.
Ryan introduced Pie Face Pinball on one of our streams, which was awesome. We both got the Star Trek Color DMD. Pirates of the Caribbean was revealed by Jersey Jack. Hopefully in 2018 it turns out to be an amazing pinball machine.
Mm-hmm.
Stern did a seminar where they revealed the ultimate formula to success in pinball, which was pinball plus beer equals dollars.
Yes.
Dutch Pinball had a shit year. They did. They had a shit year. They released nothing. They just released nothing, except they talked about...
Lots of emails and webinars.
They had lots of emails, and they had a contract manufacturer that makes machines that folds envelopes. Let that fucking sink in right there. Anyway, I hope they do well, because I played Dutch. I played...
Yes, and we have a friend. We've heard the story. Lucas, my friend, has a thing.
Lucas, I love you, and I want you to get your whatever. What's the machine called?
The Big Lebowski.
Big Lebowski. Thank you. What happened else?
Magic Girl stream.
We got to play Magic Girl. What a fucking piece of shit that is.
It looks pretty. It wasn't that bad, was it?
It was shit house. It was just, for me, it was my biggest letdown of 2017 was playing Magic Girl. But I'm going to say...
You were lucky to play it, mate.
I was lucky to play it. But I'm going to tell you the positive that came from it. Due to us playing it, and you then messaging Canada saying, dude... what the fuck are you doing with this machine? He sold it. And he got a Batman 66. So the world is good again.
Yes. I'm not sure if it was solely to do with me, but I just sent a message saying I feel very sad that your daily pinball experience is based off this machine.
Yep. And we got to do our first seminar. How did that go?
Oh, I want to, let the record straight that, I don't think we deserve a seminar because
no, of course not.
We really haven't achieved that much. But, hey, we're the only people that kind of consistently podcast in Australia and, we were going to the event, so why not?
And so this was the Flip Out event, which was honestly 4 weeks in the planning from Wayne at Mr. Pinball. He did a phenomenal event considering it was only 4 weeks. We got to meet Jersey Jack again. Always great to meet Jack Guanari. He is such a nice guy. And the big surprise was Jack Jr., who was equally a really nice guy. We got to play Alien and Pirates of the Caribbean at that event, which was great.
It was even better. What you've left out.
What's that?
Hello, internet thing. Hello. You forgot about it, didn't you? Internet thing. How are you? Internet
Why
thing.
are you not talking to me, internet thing? Oh, that was terrible.
We had the world's worst, Johnny Depp impersonator there, so that was fun. He was
a good Johnny Depp Jack Sparrow impersonator, he was just shit in every other way.
He was just not a very good host. I don't think his skills include emceeing an event with 200 people, and that was kind of forced upon him. So that was good fun.
So as I said, we got to play Alien and Pirates of the Caribbean, and the big surprise was how much not you, because you only got to play one ball, but I really enjoyed Alien, so I'm hoping to play that again and have fun. But Flip Out was great. Pirates of the Caribbean was great. We got to play that at PAX a week later, so thank you, Mr. Pinball, for allowing us to have that pinball machine. So we streamed that for 3 days, which was awesome.
IFPA first Heads Up tournament was held in Vegas. We covered that. Dialed in 1.5 code release. Guardians of the Galaxy. Are you still there, Marty?
Yep, that was released.
Mm-hmm.
Stern of the Union. So this was I'm suspecting that was the brainchild of Zach Sharp, starting in at Stern as the.
You don't need to guess. He admitted that it was his creation.
Well,
I think
I'm glad he did. More communication from Stern, the better.
What else, Marty?
The IFPA Power 100 was announced, and normally I wouldn't give a shit, but because we've got a couple of Australians in there, I'm very happy.
Yes.
And you released unleashed until the world anal crap.
That's right. The best quiz show in the pinball universe.
And what does anal crap stand for?
A new age legend that cracks Ryan's awesome puzzle.
That's right. Absolutely. Deep Root. So, J-Pop, John Popadiuk resurfaced as an employee of Deep Root.
You've covered that already at the top. You've double deep rooted.
I just felt that we need to say Deep Root again.
Okay.
And Ryan, a bobbly bobo.
A bobbly bobo. The best. You wasted. Oh my gosh. The world's the best. I feel weird now because I haven't drunk anything, and you're so far gone. I feel like I need to at least join your level. But
happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year. The best call out by Stern ever enters the world. The Twippies and the Twerpies, covered that today. Jack Danger in Australia, and joking about Steve Ritchie getting a new job.
There you go. So, and that was really, like, I went through today looking at all our show notes. There is so much that we've covered. So, we have been, this podcast started July 25th. This is our 24th podcast. We've had over 30,000 listens, which is amazing. We just didn't know what we were going to expect when we first started this. We were happy with 400 to maybe 500 listens a week. We have vastly exceeded that, and we're very pleased that everybody is listening to this podcast. And
are they going to listen after this episode, Marty?
Probably not. I think this will be a polarizing episode, but before this episode recorded, I said to myself, I'm going to end this year the way I've enjoyed this year, and that is getting absolutely hammered on gin. So,
and
cheers, everyone.
I kindly reminded Marty that the year has already ended, and we are now at the 1st of January. And Marty admitted that he'd already downed a couple of gins before then. So.
But there you go. We've really enjoyed this podcast. We get a lot of feedback from people saying how much they love it, from Australia, from America. America is our larger, only just market. So thank you to everybody for listening. We love doing this. It's actually a lot of fun.
Yes, thank you for listening. Thank you for all the people we interviewed: Jimmy Nails, Mike from Homepin, Jesse Jack, Time Bandit, Rhoda Dave, Steve Bowden, Jack Danger, Ron and Bruce from the Slam Talk podcast, and recently Kaneda and Jordan today. It's great to talk to people. We want to land some more interviews. We're still trying to get that interview that we've been planning for the last month, but it's almost impossible to get this guy. He's in a different time zone. We won't say who it is yet until we actually get him on the show, but he actually organised a time with us. We both woke up at like 7 a.m. on a work day, and he was missing in action. So hopefully we can get him on, and because I think he's got some really interesting stories to tell about Bally Williams in the 90s.
Oh, who could that be?
Who could that be? There's a lot of people working there. Yeah. Are we done?
Are we done? Are you going to sing me out with the best song of 2017? I thought you were going to do the Seventh Heaven one.
No, he wants me to... That's how. Look at me now. Oh my voice. I'm broken. Oh my god, how do people sing like this? Inherit my life. Oh, I hate you, Macca, so much. I'm gonna have a sore throat now just imitating. What's it called? Is it death metal? It's the worst music in the world. Seriously, it's like negative, just shit-sounding music. I like almost all music except death. Is that what it's called? Death metal?
Oh, probably. But all I will say is, rest in peace, Dimebag Darrell. You are a legend.
Yeah, that's called "I'm Broken" by Pantera, and it's someone playing a joke on me because I promised I would sing any song you want, and that's it.
I think that is well and truly enough for this week. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for listening in 2017. And if you're listening in 2018, we hope to see a lot more of you this year.
And this is a super long podcast. I know some people love long podcasts. Some people, want it a bit shorter. Let us know. We don't get enough feedback. I thrive on negative feedback because that's when if everyone pats me on the back and says your tournament was the best, Ryan, I don't know how to make things better. If you tell me what was wrong with it, I can fix it. I don't get offended. So if you have any feedback at all, good or bad, I don't care. But bad is even better than doing. Let us know. If you want shorter podcasts, let us know. I can shut Marty up because somehow, Marty, I think you talked more in this episode than I.
I know.
It's got to be a first, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway,
right.
There you go. Thank you, everybody, for listening this week, this year. We love you.
How can people find us? How can people find us? Head2headpinball.com. Email us at head2headpinball@gmail.com. Subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, all that jazz. Jeff Teolis. See you guys later.
It's a bit random to go Jeff Teolis, but
I just chucked in a Stitcher there. Well, I never say Stitcher because what the hell is Stitcher? But I just felt like I was. Anyway, you gotta go. This is way too long.
We love you, Jeff Teolis. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Fucking hell, Marty. I want all that chocolate stuff left in there.